we do quite a lot in terms of lending, of giving money, help that will go in with the free trade area that we are creating on the African continent. Therefore, a sovereign fund is very useful that African countries can earmark where they can start, you know, giving a hand to each other. And at the moment, we don't have a fund. You find many of African countries going to have money lent, got from those countries like China, Britain, America, and other countries. Yet we can sustain our own budget. We can have our own budget. We can have our own enough is money in our resources in our banks. Our banks can lend other banks. Our banks can give money to other African countries. We have seen quite a lot of calamity on the continent of Africa, where another African country has enough reserves to be able to sustain the budget, the economy of another African country. So why is it that we cannot find a solution? We can say we created the African Development Bank, but how far has this African Development Bank gone? Isn't it time for us to develop the African Development Bank into another thing, such that this bank sustains itself and then gives out equitably, sort and help some countries in Africa to sort out their economic mess, to buy things that are needed. Every African country right now is crying for fuel subsidies. Each country is crying for food reduction of prices. These are some of the things that African countries themselves can do without going to any of the lenders in the West. Because most of the lenders in the West have made us go with their conditions. And some of these conditions have brought catastrophe on the African continent. For example, a lender gives you money, but asks you that a lender gives you money, but asks you and gives you the terms. Even tells you, I don't want you to like country X. I want you to like me. So, in fairness, the question of liking which country and which direction your country should go depends on yourself and your foreign policy. But if you have a lender who is telling you that I'm giving you this money for hospital, but I want you to like me only. So isn't it the time for Africa to think why we should create a sovereign fund? That is the discussion of the day. Anybody who's interested in talking about it can raise your hand and I will put you through. That is welcome, all of you, from Dr. Matsanga. As we wait for more people to come, because I know it is daytime, most of the people are working. If it had been night time, everybody will be on 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 this Twitter space. But it doesn't matter. However few we are, as long as we are discussing Africa, as long as we are making Africa better, that is our Africa. Africa is for us. and we are for Africa. So let's kick start. Anybody who wants to speak can raise up with a hand, and I will include you in the request. I can see. Thank you very much. Uh, Signoro, I have added you. You can go ahead. Signoro, the mic is yours. Signoro, the mic is yours.
Dr. Matanga, greetings to you. Greetings to
Yeah.
Africa.
Yes.
I've just joined in. I'm still trying to take a few people. If you could just give me a minute, I'll
Okay.
convert.
Okay. Thank you. It's okay, sir. So these are some of the things. The trade people. Let us trade, not get aid. Why can't we do a free trade and have a sovereign fund as Africans? Why are we trading with nobody? We are trading with outside the continent, yet we can trade amongst ourselves. You see, we have all the institutions that can help us to trade, that can help us to keep ourselves without borrowing money from outside countries. And then we are threatened by these outside countries of mortgaging our own, institutions, and we are put at play. We work under conditions. And why do we borrow? We borrow because we want to develop our countries. But we can borrow amongst ourselves. A sovereign bond is a bond where a country X can go and say, since I want to build my hospital, I would like Kenya, for example, to lend me some money. I would like Nigeria, for example, to lend me some money. I would like to do a free trade. I have coffee, but Nigeria needs coffee. So what do? We send coffee to Nigeria. We can send coffee to Nigeria, and Nigeria can give us what we need or money to build the dispensaries and the hospitals. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, to bring this topic so that more and more Africans can start thinking of what can be done to make this continent better. It might be a very difficult thing at the beginning, but I will be bringing such topics from different countries from now onwards in order to introduce you both to Punchline Africa TV and then to the Twitter space. At times we would like to discuss, and we have more time to interact with you. The rules here are very simple. You put up your hand if you want to talk. There's no abusive language here. We only entertain people who want to discuss and learn something new. And that is what we are up to today. Thank you very much. As we wait for more people to come, welcome. you follow each other, so that tomorrow you can, Papa, just say you want to speak. Thank you very much. I will add you as a speaker. I don't know whether you want to speak now and make your point now, or you wait. Papa Jesse, your mic, you have the mic now. Papa, yes, Papa Jesse, you can go ahead.
Yes, it was David.
You have the mic now.
Thank you, Dr. David, for organizing this event. Pastor, do you hear me? You hear me?
Yes, I hear. We are hearing you very clear.
Thank you for hosting this or organizing from Dera, Eastern Province. The only topic is stop from Safarian fan. We Africans have a land which is best for agriculture. We have oceans inside a lot of minerals and camels. The only solution to stop this battle is to we Africans promote democracy, fight corruption. After all this we do, we can create our own resource. We can produce our minerals so that eventually we can all produce and import our resources. So that's the only solution. Thank you.
Tabitha, you go ahead. You went off. Tabit, you went off. You went off. You went off. Can you continue speaking, please? You were making very good points. You are making very good points. Go ahead.
Let me take it away.
Signoro, you can take over. Thank you.
Let me, thank you for the space. Just to seek confirmation, I'm hearing a tone that seeks to create a fund, a sovereign fund, which speaks to doing away with banks and corporates, the imperialist banks and corporates, it is actually a noble idea and it's long overdue. There's no way you can fight a situation if you don't have a counter intelligence. Counter intelligence, it means it speaks to institutions, the supporting pillars. Arguably, so Africa does not have a system. We do not have a system of our own. And the pillars of a system are the banks and corporates. Number one on the list being the banks, the finance house. We can talk, people have spoken about many things. Eventually, we end up being captured. Hence, the work pioneered by our forefathers, our nationalists, frontline leaders. It failed because we do not have our own. We seem to have, but we do not have our own. That is our bottleneck. One step at a time. And I think this could be the beginning to create a fund state by state. By the way, I think we need to speak the language and the power of the tongue. It speaks to, let's call it, the United States of Africa. What are we scared of? Why are we not giving reference to all these topics and African states as United States of Africa? It begins with the cheap talk, and I think eventually the message will go a very long way. And now, United States of Africa can only be built from a foundation of what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing on this topic. Without the finance is the backbone of any economy. It's the backbone of any project. Surely we do have everything, and we've spoken enough for many years. We should be grateful we have people that have voices that are loud enough, and one of them, it's yours, Dr. Matsanga. I beg to be corrected. You are one of the voices that can be heard loud. You are not the only voice. But are we fully utilizing these voices? Are we stepping up the volume? Or we are talking and not coming up with a strategy? I think it's about time, and I want to repeat this. This could be the beginning. And I hope, Dr. Matsanga, I know you have the capacity to coordinate, not only you, but those that we emulate. We want you to coordinate a conference, whether we want to call it an Africa Indaba, which should discuss these things seriously, sector by sector. How do we create our own fund? How do we create our own corporates? We do have them. We've got the resources. We do have everything that is required to turn the world. But what we do not have is the model of inducing. Inducing is the word.
Go ahead. Go on speaking. We are hearing you.
It's about time we get a model of inducing. The capitalists to say, let's have a 50-50 win-win situation. You may have the technology, bring it here in Africa. Not for us to take away our minerals. I'll put it in this sense. If we have ports and you do not have anything to cook, maybe I can make a plan with my food. You can't cook.
Hold on, Signoro. there is something that you have raised that is very, it concerns me. It concerns all of us here on the platform. Nigeria, for example, produces crude oil, but Nigeria exports that crude oil to outside countries for purification or distillation. Distilling it, is it distillation or refinery, to refine it to super oil or super diesel? Surely a country like Nigeria should have created a refinery that refines this crude oil. Then Africa would not be talking about prices, hiking prices. Nigeria is one of the few countries on the continent, on OPEC, the third producing country of crude oil in Africa, in the world, and the first one on the continent of Africa. But we are refining, you draw the minerals. Nobody is asking us to draw them, but they go and drill the oil, then you ship it abroad, then bring it when you buy from abroad your own mineral, which you should have in your own place to create employment. First of all, you are creating employment for the outsiders. You are not creating employment for Nigerians. You are not, look at what we have. Countries in Africa, Uganda, Kenya, and many other countries that are discovering oil. All of them are looking for a pipeline outside to pump our resources to to the Indian Ocean. Why is it that we cannot find a way? And then you see, the most important thing that intrigues me, why I brought this topic, is it time for Africa to have a sovereign fund? Why do we borrow? For example, why do we buy fuel? Why are we crying right now across Africa, in every country? People are crying of high prices of fuel. Why? Because we have exported all the fuel, we have drawn it from our ground and sent it for purification, which they put on levy, taxation, transport back. Why can't we create an industry of refining oil, fuel for Africa? Nigeria could lead it. But thanks God, Africa, as usual, we have a problem. I don't know where our problem is, but I wish I knew where the problem is. I would be struggling. That's why my topic of my Twitter space is the struggle for Africa. Let's struggle to find out where we went wrong, why Nigeria cannot have an oil refinery within Nigeria, within Port Harcourt, within the Delta region, to refine oil into super oil, regular and unregular diesel, paraffin, and all the products. We send it out into ships, then bring it back refined. It costs us more money. That is where we are talking. Why is it that isn't it time for Africa to have a sovereign fund? There you are. Any others there? Signoro, have you finished speaking, sir?
Let me land. But on this day, I don't know the time there. I'm challenging you, Comrade Dr. Matanga, to urgently convene a conference from all the 55 states of Africa, if you have the capacity to seriously discuss these things, including a sovereign fund. And let's have Africa, United States of Africa, INDAB. The second challenge is we need to start discussions which seeks to bridge the gap between the older generation This is very powerful. Older generation and younger generation. There is very little, if nothing at all, being done to reduce that gap, which seeks to find ideas that we are trying to find here on how we can create a sovereign fund, which is not the first and last, but there are many things that we need to create in order to that constitute a system. We now need an inclusiveness, killing two birds with one stone, shared view which leaves a legacy. We are in a digital world. Let's have an inclusive. Last but not least, those are the two challenges to you, Dr. Matsanga, and those who, in your capacity, who are in the same level. The response I have, the reason why we cannot, we have been talking and talking. I would like to think, allow me and I beg to be corrected. We rely so much on the heads of states and governments. This statement is not meant to belittle them. It is the same statement, like I said earlier. The frontline leaders, they did what they did. We are now seeing the bottleneck. Maybe we are not seeing the bottleneck on our head of states and the governments, but I think it is the bilateral. They are shy to talk about these things. They're shy to open up space for civic society, which its role is to complement the effort of each government. But I think there is a problem. We have head of states that are kind of shy. And the $1 million question is, are they serving the interest of Africa, or they are serving the interests of the same colonial masters that we are advocating, or we are fighting to go back to where we were and become the strongest ever United States of Africa? I would like to yield my mic for now. Thank you.
Hi guys. Maybe if I can have a minute, I've always this thing bothers me, so I just want to put on it. One of the African issue in my mind, I always think the leaders in Africa, they have more excessive protection, and they're totally alienated from the society, from the reality. Once they are in power, they just forget everything, and their main and primary agenda will turn into political and financial gain. Okay, this is the fact that we are all living on it anyway, from north to south, from east to west. That's the main reason I see. And at this moment, I'm looking into one thing: how could we reduce this? How could we make them uh, a real human, like normal citizens and free society, to build a free nation? What's the main requirement at this moment? Okay, to do this, first we have to strip them off from that excessive power, that excessive protection around them, whether it is the army or the police or whatever it is. Okay, if they are politicians, they have to act as politician, integrated into the society openly, freely, without a fear. But there must be a fear in the back of their mind as well. The fear has to come only when they are messed, only when they are cheating, only when they are lying, only when they fail to deliver the interests of the people. So how could we do this? First, I think we might need a little bit at the beginning to educate the people to understand the very basic needs in politics, how politicians should behave. Then we have to organize some sort of power as a whole Africans that defend African people. And that power has to be very sophisticated underground, in my mind. And that underground power has to be delegated by certain people and led by certain uh, free and fair people that goes and hunts out all those corrupt in power. And what we do is simple. There has to be a power that assassinate every single corrupt leader in Africa that always heavily protected on his movement. Like, I don't want to mention, I've been into many African countries. When they move from one hotel to the other hotel, they have this unbelievable entourage behind them. You name it, all the guns there behind them, all those three vehicles in the front and 4, 6 on the back, just protecting one stupid minister, one stupid ignorant. Just uh, he just took the advantage of the time. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is the main problem in Africa. Okay, they have to be stripped of that. Okay, they have to live as a human. They have to give to be treated as equal as anyone. Okay, when I say as equal, no, they can't live like the farmer in whatever it is, or whatever in the village. As intellectual or as a civil servant, we have to increase their daily allowance. Okay, but we have to make them remember they are there just to serve the people, not to serve their damn family or themselves. And to serve the people, they must act equal as the people. They have to drop themselves where the people are. They have to go and talk to the people. They have to go and just deliver to the people. So these are the main things that's missing in Africa. We have to act thoroughly somehow to eliminate all those corrupt protected. You know, the crazy part of it, there's this one who is the most democratic progressive at the moment, like Mugabe. Sorry, Mugabe was even much greater than this. Kagame. Okay, Kagame never walked on the streets of Kigali on his own. He would never. Why? Is he not part of the people? Is he not serving the people? Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I don't have to tell him, or nobody has to tell him. He gathered that heavy security, the most uh, freedom fighter in Africa, working by that amount of power. That's a disaster to Africa. That's a shame to anyone that sees Africa. Okay, having said that, yeah, there is a certain places he need a protection, but not that much. That's sophisticated with those heavy guns. No, there should be some invisible protection. Obviously, I understand there is always a threat for him, even if he is the finest, the best leader in Africa. Yes, that's a fact. Not him, even every businessman or basic normal, a civil, a certain position needs a certain very basic protection. Okay, but once they fail to do that, they taken the entire nation protection power to themselves. No, they have to come up with some intelligence, spread that power, that security to the whole nation, make sure the country is safe and sound. Then that's thing they have created for the nation would pay them back. Otherwise, excessive power protection around them is the main primary thing that's spoiling them. Once they have that, they feel they own the world. They always works for themselves because they never been able to see the grassroots people. They never been able to integrate to the society, how they live, what's their primary needs, what's they have to do for them, what's the very even they don't even know due to the fear they have or that heavy protection. They don't even stop or slow down and see how the tarmac is on the street of their capital cities. They just drove past like a bullet from house to house, from hotel to hotel, from office to the office. There is no way, no any average minister would stop and talk to his own people. So we have to make them speak to their people if they're working for the people. Anyone that hasn't delivered that, then we have to get him. And to get him, let's build this program that I'm already started. Okay, I'm speaking with many serious organizations that has an interest in Africa. We can build this power just simply focusing, eliminating whoever is a corrupt and whoever is on the power is taking advantage of the nation, whether it is in a resource of the nation or in political gains for their party or whatever it is. those who refuse to give a platform to oppositionists, we have to act now and make them lose all those things, and we have to make them live in fear until that fear is inserted into each and every African minister. There will not be a peace in Africa. There would not be any infrastructural progress in Africa. There would not be any equality. There would not be any progress. Simple as that. So we have to take that, strip off what they have, and make them human like any other citizen. We have to educate them. They're not much better than the one in the farm and the one who is driving the truck, or the one is cleaning the shoe on the streets of Kigali or Kampala or Nairobi or whatever, or Lagos. We must bring them to their knees. Until we do this, Africa would never progress. And thank you for your time. And I would like to hear from Dr. Kasanga what he might have to say. I always appreciate your talk, and this is my long plan and proposal for Africa solution. And that's the time they will stop, as you said, the Nigerian thing earlier. Yeah, they would do all those things because they don't care about the people. Okay, at least they should have refined those to create the jobs for the people, but they don't understand how the people lives. All they know is they have the access to the Western dollar. That's the main problem. Okay, at the end of the time, at some point, we can't blame them. Even those politicians, it is a people's problem. So
So,
thank you. I would like to listen to Doctor. Yeah.
my brother, don't go, don't go. I hold it on. I want to ask you one question. Some of the questions that you have said, you have brought. I always enjoy your debates, and one of the things why I've created this space for you, especially you, your debating gives me impetus that the problem is not only the government, but the problem is us. Are we the ones, for example, are we the ones who select, who make bad choices that end up to haunt us? Are we the
yeah.
ones who make bad choices that end up to haunt us?
I think no. Partly we might get blamed the grassroots because we are not informed enough. We are lacking because whoever is on the top always is manipulating and corrupting our mindset. We are the victim of those minority intelligent people. We need to educate the grassroots all about the freedom and the basic human rights. Until we do that, we are the victim. They know we are the victim, and they know they have manipulated us, doctor. Then that's why we can't progress, and we're living under the fear of their corrupt power. At the end of the time, we give them what they don't deserve. They ask us about the power, we're giving them. No, now the first thing we must strip the powers. Even when Uhuru was in Nairobi once, I was standing somewhere in Nairobi, and this siren was going ooh, and running like a bullet cars, beautiful cars. Even I've never seen them in the West. Okay, flying like a bullet. I said, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah,
And
pause,
they said,
pause,
"Uhuru."
pause it there. Pause it there. Pause it there. Is it everywhere? It is everywhere in Africa. Look at the limousines that all heads of state in Africa roll. Is it insecurity that we fear? If you find the Swedish Prime Minister, Norwegian Prime Minister, he only has one car and one security man to escort him to his office. Are we violent in nature that we can, as Africans, fail to look after our own people? Why should our own presidents, for example, have a huge convoy? Buhari's convoy is double the one of any other state in Africa. Why is what type of fear? These are the topics that I want. These are the discussions. What makes it difficult? Why do we borrow to buy a longer convoy.
Can I
Is
give a
there
response?
Well,
wait, just hold on. Is there a leader in Africa who travels in a short convoy? Yes.
yeah, doctor. Before Mr. Senoyer says,
Signora
I would
wants to
add.
come in
Yeah,
because in
I would
Zimbabwe,
like to add this quick to you, doctor. We are not corrupt. We just
I
been
just want to
stigmatized.
come in
We've
as
been
well.
told. We've been told
okay.
that we blacks are corrupt. Okay, and we bought into that Western narrative, and we are the most fearless and merciless people by nature. That's how we've been stigmatized and blackmailed all over the world and the Western media. And we bought into this. And who bought it the most? Our leaders. They don't have the trust. They believe it into that Western, whether when they travel for education or for whatever reason they travel to the West, they come back with that kind of fear. Okay, these people, this is what they deserve. Okay, but as a human being, probably I have to tell you this. If you study the Western history was the most carnivorous and the most horrible people, you could say. Okay, the European history is something unimaginable, horrible story. Those things comparison to what Africans are the most peaceful society so far in the whole entire world. Okay, but there is a fear, yes, psychological fear, yes, but practically Africans never assassinate or kill. You can see how Abraham Lincoln was shot. Okay, he was just shot on the spot without anything. We even who shot him? His own brother, very close people. These are the kind of thing in Africa we never heard anything like
You
this.
remind
We
just hold on the fire. You remind me of Abraham of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was reading and I wrote. You remember the letter that Abraham Lincoln wrote to the teacher of his son?
Yeah.
And if you read that letter, I call upon all of you, most of you, sorry, who are good readers, most of you who read books, to look for such books. Read Abraham Lincoln's the memoirs. You will see the letter he wrote to his son, to the teacher of his son. I picked several things out of that he was preparing his son. Sorry, he was preparing his son. He was preparing his son for greater, worse things to come. Do we grow up in Africa being prepared for the worst things to come? Do we, all of us, look at Africa and say, I want to become a doctor? How many of you here grow up and go to the school? You went to school. My father used to tell me, I want you to become a lawyer. And a failure to become a lawyer, I want you to become a politician. I'm telling you.
Yep.
And indeed, I ended up in one of the... My father died. Sorry. My father died, but wherever he is, he knows he left one man, a politician on planet Earth, who took over his reins. I had a career set for me. Either become a lawyer and argue cases, because I used to make village announcements. I used to be the man, they used to call me BBC. When I was young in the 60s, that the BBC boy, where is he today? Because I used to listen to news, then come around and tell people, did you hear yesterday? There was a subject called civics. I don't know whether all of you studied the word civics in the schools. That was a subject compulsory, which turned up to be called general paper. Before you pass your A levels, you must also pass general paper, which asks several questions. Who was the prime minister of this? Who was this?
Excuse me, Mr. Dr. David. Can
Yes.
I just come in and say a few 2 cents and then go, because
Okay,
I need to go
Go
somewhere.
ahead.
Right. Hey, you are talking of a noble idea, but my question is, we have this institution already in Africa. We have the African Development Bank. What is it doing? Our problem, please, let's learn to walk with our feet, not our head. Let's stop corruption. Our nature, we want to be worshipped as Africans. That's why most of our leaders make our people poor, because they want us to worship them. Whenever we see a government vehicle, like a minister's vehicle coming, you said, oh, father has come. If she's a female, oh, mother has come, because we know she has come with packets of rice. Let's stop wanting to be demigods, Africans. Plus, if we look at Kenya, I'll give Kenya as an example. I'm from Zimbabwe by origin, though I live in the UK. Let's stop voting on ethnic lines. Let's assume you have got a business doctor and you are a Kikuyu. You see me, a Kapa or whatever, other smaller ethnic tribes, a qualified accountant applying for a job in your business. You will prefer to take a dunderhead Kikuyu just because he is from your region. Let's stop this if we are entertaining any hopes of progressing. There is a time you in Kenya when you were importing.
Hold the fire. Why don't you say if you are Shona, you prefer to take a dunderhead Shona and leave the Debere?
Yeah, it's just the same.
Don't refer to Kenya only. It is even worse in Zimbabwe.
Yes, but you have just cut me before I have even finished. Right. If we can stop this, look at Tanzania. Tanzania has got, I think, more than 100 tribes. But this problem of tribalism is non-existent. And you go to my Zimbabwe you were talking about. There are two big tribes, one the Shona and the Ndebele. But a person from I am Shona will prefer to take a dunderhead from Masvingo, where I come from, in preference of a Ndebele who is intelligent. If we don't stop that, let's stop entertaining any hopes of doing better as Africans. And remember, you can still live large under dictators. Look at the countries in the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, popularly known as Dubai. Yes, you can't say something bad about the government, but look at the standard of living of their people. They have got everything. Dictators with vision, or monarchs with vision. Even someone talked of Kagame. Yes, you might call him a dictator, but look at the standard of living of his people. It's in the top 5. Really, if we can at least manage to do that, yes, then we say we are talking sense. Africans, we should stop this mentality of wanting to be worshipped by our people. Do something good for your people. We have seen dictators in so many countries, but if you go to if we compare them with our own dictators in Africa, you will see someone blowing these sirens. The road next to his state house, just a few houses from his state house, there are potholes where an elephant or a giraffe can hide. Please, why are we belittling ourselves? This is pathetic. If we don't stop that, and I mentioned earlier on, countries importing eggs from Romania or chicken from Brazil. Hey, come on. Can you not breed chickens in Africa?
No, but there is more chicken in Kenya and Uganda. Eggs. We are throwing eggs. Uganda has more eggs. This is why I am talking about a fund. Is it time for Africa to have a fund? You talked, Mr. Mutagari, my great friend for a long time, whom I admire so much from Machingo. Look at me.
Oh,
I am saying the African Development Bank that you talked about has been misused because there is nobody. African Development Bank also follows the way the Western world lends money. So
I hear what you are saying.
wait. It is not like China. The China Exim Bank. That is a sovereign fund. The China Exim Bank lends money to Africans. It lends money to everybody in the world, including to America. But if you look at the formation of the Exim Bank, this is what would happen. It is available. They go, it was well done by the Chinese themselves. Every money which was a surplus was put in that bank. And they developed the bank, gave people loans to build apartments, bridges, what? They found themselves.
Well, Mr. Thomas, as
All
you
right.
said, the African Bank, that's what I would try to respond. You know, the African Bank, African Union Bank, do you know it is total bankrupt bank? That's the only bank with no asset, the only bank without reserve.
Await, hold your fire. Let my Zimbabwe friend finish up your point, land the mic, and if you have a comment, always make a comment on this side. And
right.
Yeah.
What I have heard what you are saying, but my question is, with our corrupt mindset, when we end up as the African Developing Bank you are talking about, we should learn first to walk with our feet, not with our head, because we run to look for cash instead for systems bringing in cash, because those who are lending us won't stop us from letting us borrow. But the more we borrow, the more we become poor as Africans. We should first learn to walk with our feet, because right now we are walking with our head. And before I forget, Dr. David, can you contact me after this, because I've got a question I want to ask, because I need something in your you are from Kenya, in Kenya. So after this, can you just contact me? Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's please. I was looking for you for so many time. I think I tried to.
Okay, Mukwasha.
Yeah.
Mukwasha.
So that is it. It's unfortunate this debate is very hot, but I have to go.
Yes, I know. It is hot. It is also coming during daytime.
Yeah, so please contact me.
Don't worry, next time we shall make it during night time, but we have to, ladies and gentlemen on the platform, I want you to know that every Friday from now onwards, Punchline Africa will be bringing the Twitter space, where people will have time to talk about the events on African continent and tag each other, tag more. This is the request of Punchline Africa TV. That we have done. You know, we have changed the format. You know, now as you talk, you are being seen on TV. You're only that your faces are not seen, but you are on television worldwide, and it will be seen.
Thank you very much. I'll be
Thomas,
listening.
I really appreciate your quoting that to trying to take that advantage with doctor. It was an amazing. You know, we should have that kind of quick in the same time that conscious thing, honest, open relationship, not like those leaders in Africa who do it. You know, in the back of the curtain. However, as you said, quick for your response before you go, Thomas.
Okay.
As you said, we have to walk on our feet. Yes, to walk on our feet, we need a leader who can help us to walk, not we help him to walk. In Africa, it is the other way around. Okay,
Tawish, you have hold on. Tawish, you have been promoted to co-host. Answer yes, and the co-host up there.
All right. I will continue listening whilst I'm traveling.
And finish then.
Yeah. All right.
I'll address you as comrade.
You wanted to come in. Signoro, you wanted to come in and make some point to Mr. Awet. Otherwise, there are people waiting to speak. I want to give them a chance. There's LMP waiting to speak. And then you can come in and summarize and put up a few points. LMP, the mic is yours.
If you could allow me to respond directly to Awet the reason why.
Okay, you go ahead, Mr. Signoro.
The leaders of African states maintain these long queue motorcades. I'll speak eloquently, and I hope my president is listening. And I want to challenge him to take the lead, precedence, to change the narrative. My eloquent answer, which I think might be, I beg to be corrected, they are cowards in a good way, which speaks to fear of the unknown. You cannot fear the people that lead you. I want to repeat this, a constructive criticism. They must prove this statement wrong. They are cowards to fear the people that you lead. I like what you are saying.
Let me ask you, Signoro. They are cowards. Are we not also criminals?
We are worse than them because...
Don't we have criminals among the public that would like to harm the leaders? That's why leaders have protection. Why do we have both sides of Africa? The leaders are protecting themselves with long motorcade. Therefore, they cannot think of an African sovereign fund which could actually bring the lives better. We are looking at how can we bring the lives of Africans better? Why should Africa go and borrow money? Yet, there is plenty of money in Africa. Mr. Signoro, that is where the crux of the matter is. Why should Nigeria, for example, export its oil, crude oil, to a refinery in America, then buy that, petrol from their own oil, which they could make? So if we had a fund in Africa, Nigeria would be producing its oil on the soil, create employment. Then the enemies that would like to maybe to harm the motorcade will be less. Isn't it?
It is. I want you to absorb what I want to deliver, Dr. Matsanga, and I want an honest and eloquent response. You may maybe answer later. You are so right. We are also cowards. And I said we are worse than them. Why? Simple, because it is from this community that these leaders are chosen from. I want to repeat, it is from the same community that is the voice that is speaking, you, me, and all of us, that we find each other choosing. So that means our choices are wrong. But I also sympathize with us to say it's not necessarily our choices. We are doomed. We are using a model which was left by the colonial master. We think we are choosing our leaders. We are not choosing them. A nomination process must begin. The constitution should change. Not Signoro to come with this bag of millimeter to say, I'll give you this and that. We should have people nominating Signoro to say, we want you to represent as a nomination candidate.
Now, Now, Signoro, you are on the right track. You are going on the second tier of what we should do. But you have forgotten the main thing is it time for us to have a sovereign fund? Why do we borrow when we have a lot of resources on the continent? Why should we go and borrow IMF when Kenya has a reserve, when Nigeria has a reserve, when Egypt can give us more doctors, when Egypt can give us money and said today, Kenya, bring maize. We don't have maize because the River Nile levels were low. We couldn't grow maize. Or Uganda, give us coffee. And then we shall, out of the coffee, what do you need? You need money to build dispensaries in Uganda. That is the topic I am interested in today.
My
Then,
answer, my response was going to that.
yes,
Now,
you respond so that you give others a chance.
I'll start from there. This is why I requested if you could maybe follow eloquently, attentively. I'll start from that point. How do we then protect this projected fund? With people that have fear between themselves and the head of state and governments, how do we have trust in this fund being secure? Or technically, we will be forced again to externalize the fund, which goes back to a nonsensical idea of creating a fund and keeping it elsewhere. This speaks to all these points that I'm alluding to, that a nomination process, it works like this. People nominate each other to an extent of saying, no, we want you to represent, and someone is saying, no, I'm a farmer, I'm busy. Until people like Matanga and the elders of the land visit that person and say, look, people want you to lead. And those should be our candidates for presidential leadership. Those should be candidates for parliamentarians. Those should be candidates for councillors. The current system, which is an adopted system, is so cancerous that anyone can make the whole nation believe they can do better. Who does that to tell the nation that they can do better? It is the other way around. Before I land, while it's on the motorcade, this is historic. Dr. Matanga, you have the details. Mugabe, I have a very close family member who had a situation where the prime minister then stopped the motorcade to say, I want to speak that to that man in the late 80s. He's still alive. What does that speak to you? He was a leader, humble leader. By the way, Mugabe was a very humble leader up until the mid-90s. What made the motorcade grow is what I'm speaking to. It is not Mugabe that created what you call center of power. Goes back to what you are saying, Dr. Mazanga. It is me, you, and those who want blessings from the president.
Yes.
Who tell the president is not secure?
Yes,
they created Zimbabwe is my case now. Most people, I'm telling them a secret maybe they don't know, or they know they are shy to talk about. It is people around the president, the prime minister then, who created the center of power. And now the president is not reachable. So that they can be gatekeepers around the president. Having said that, we need to understand that our problem is constitutionalism. As long as we are using a Dutch common law, which seeks to promote the elite, which seeks to create fear and divisions, which is nonsensical. And positively, I hope and I know, I think the president is listening. Something has to be done. You must demonstrate that people want you. And if you are not reachable, that means you do not know people's cries. This relay thing does not work. I learned. It used to be Mugabe used to reach out to people. One joke that I'll leave you with. People, women say Kweda Kunanzizi.
I know you.
And
I know
Mugabe
you.
would say,
You always want to
"Chakucherera."
land, Signoro. You always want to land on me when it comes to Mugabe.
Listen to this joke.
But
What
look
Mugabe,
here, boss.
eh,
I protected that guy when no white man wanted him. So, like, I would protect you in London, where where I've lived for 37 years. If I find people beating you, I went to London when there was no black man around me. There was no neighborhood. I was the only man going to the market. And everybody would look at me and say, where did he come from? To live in this Surrey. This is where I live. Where I've lived up to today. So I protected Mugabe. I know, Signoro, you are landing on me. But I am very good. I am good at I protected that soul of Mugabe until he went home. God called him. I did not
allow me to
I
learn,
did not
Dr.
want white
Matara.
people to molest him. Not because I hate
Allow
white
me to
people.
learn.
Not because
Allow me to learn
yes,
with this joke,
yes,
which confirms what I've said. Mugabe was reachable.
yes,
Women would say, "Kweda Kunanzizi."
yes.
Zizi, it's not a river. These
That
are
there is no he is not a river. As easy those who don't understand Shona, is easy is river water. Am I wrong?
it's bigger than river. It's an ocean.
Ocean. Okay.
And then Mugabe would say, "Tichakucherera," meaning we are going to facilitate.
Yes.
It sounds like a joke, but he used to interact like that. So it is important to understand where we are coming from. Very good question asked, and it speaks to constitutionalism. It's about time we have people nominated to be in leadership. People who have
So
traditions,
in short, for you,
value.
before you land, in short, Signoro, you are saying elections in Africa create more confusion than good. That is a
No,
topic for another day. Land.
not elections. Democracy. There are
But
no
when
human
you say
rights.
selected, how are we going to select it? It means you don't want elections, do you?
There's no vote process in China.
Okay.
But a leader is selected.
Okay.
That's
I can
the
see where you are going.
African
That's
leadership.
another
Thank
topic
you.
for another day.
Thank you.
We shall bring a topic for another day whether Africa needs elections or not. I will bring it again some other time. Thank you very much, space goers on Punchline Africa TV. We are hosting this space as we have always been the first people on the continent to change. As you speak now on this space, you are also speaking direct to a TV that is transmitting your views across the planet, across the globe. So thank you very much for participating. On Friday, every Friday, we shall be bringing those views. We shall be bringing the Twitter space. And apart from the Matanga Twitter space on Monday evening, and then Wandera, Kennedy Wandera, and Tendai Mudodo, yes, and the others, Rosemary Musumba. Apart from, there are many other African Twitter spaces. We are changing the Africa. We are discussing Africa. We want to change how we behave. The war in Ethiopia, we don't need to look for money. We should have got money already to facilitate the mediator to go and talk to one side, come back to talk to this side. What went wrong in Africa? I can see Miriam has come in. Thank you very much, Miriam, all of you who have joined. I can see Meredith, my good friend, all the time. I can see Citizen. I can see Rotich. Thank you very much from Kenya. You have always been one of my few listeners. I can see so many of you, the whole of you, you are welcome. Now, Miriam, you will be promoted to the co-host so that you can co-host with Tawish, then I can stay behind the topic. The topic is simple. The topic is it time for Africa to have a sovereign fund? Why do we borrow? Tawish, I had selected LMP. Mr. LMP, take the mic, and Tawish, take the host as Miriam comes up to give you support. I am on the platform. Thank you very much. That Mr. LMP, you have already written something here very interesting, and Miriam will read the chat. She will read all the chats because she's on the base. All the chats, all the things that you have written, comments. You have talked about China, and China becomes a center of discussion because China's model is very important, and China's model would be one of those we can use to create a sovereign fund. But look, what, as you come to speak, what shakes your entire brain is, why should Nigeria produce oil, then carry the oil to US to refine, then come back to sell? Yet we could have done this oil in this country and then sell it cheaper to the cars. That is where we need a foreign fund. Sovereign fund is a fund where you can borrow without interest and you can make Africa better. Take it away, LMP and Tawish, co-host with Miriam. I'm trying to put you to come up to the co-hosting. I don't know, you accept it? You accept.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. David. And I appreciate the time all other people in the space have given to contribute to this topic. I don't believe that Africa needs another named fund, whatever you may choose to call it. The challenge that Africa is faced with is not giving a fund or a bank a name. Africa is not.
Sorry, before you go further, Tendai for joining us. I know you have cut your sleep so early, my daughter. Tendai, thank you very much, Tendai. I've cut your sleep in Dublin, but thank you very much for joining. Proceed, Mr. LMP.
Thank you very much, David. As I was saying, Africa is none short of resources. They may be in terms of monetary or non-monetary resources. But as the other people who have submitted before me have alluded to, that before we go into answering this question, whether we should have a sovereign fund or a bank that could facilitate our operations in Africa to enhance development and growth in Africa, there are certain fundamental questions that we need to find answers to. The question of institutions, politics, economy, and the social aspect of our countries. Africa has about 1.305 billion people. That is, economically would really do wonders that any economy would run to. That's why you'd find China and other European countries or Western countries are investing or coming in Africa at the highest level, because they realize that Africa is growing steadily, given the fact that there is high levels of corruption. The leaders are greedy, selfish, and are not focused to develop its countries. So that takes me back to the question of politics. The corruption can be settled with politics, because looking at the motorcades that we're talking about, all those motorcades are not providing security to the president. The facts remain that yes, the president, however much is within the boundaries of his country, of his people, as human beings, you must provide security to the president. But the question is, what is security? Do all the 40 or 50 cars following the president, creating that long line of motorcade, are they all for security? No. Do Americans and other countries, Western countries, provide security to their leaders? Yes. Do they have more than 50 cars in their motorcade? No. What is the public expenditure, okay, that we need? Because every time you see a motorcade, that is the taxpayers' money going. That is another people's money, borrowed money, that is put into liability, not assets, okay? Because having a motorcade, that the money we spend on leaders alone is not there to develop the country per se, but is just spent on a person, and yet that person has so little to put onto the economy. I'll use Uganda as a country. When you see that Uganda borrows money from, now they're running to the Exim Bank, that is for China. And that takes me to what I said in my comment, that China studied and understood that for us to capture the mines and different parts of the world, we must start up something that has a different face, but with the same aims and objectives with other financial institutions. China might have used a different model to borrow and lend money, but their intentions and interests are the same like other financial institutions. They make it so easy to borrow money to countries that really need that money, with an aim of developing and growing their economies. But when that money is borrowed, it is placed in the wrong, it's misused, it's misallocated, it's placed into liabilities than assets, because assets are going to develop and liabilities will only take. So it's taken by individuals, but China does not give that money free of charge. It's not running a charity through that bank, Exim Bank. It will come for that money. Either they will take your assets, and the taxpayer, even the unborn baby. You see, when you read what is happening in Uganda, that even the unborn baby has 1.3 million Ugandan shillings as a tax on his head or her head before he's born, to pay up the loan that the government or the regime borrowed. Now, that is the discipline that we need. We can talk about leaders, how they are elected or chosen. That's not an issue. The issue is how we as Africans get to understand that we take ownership and let institutions work, because these Western world powers work through institutions. The checks and balances in those countries are really solid. It doesn't mean that there's no corruption. There is corruption, but the corruption in those countries are not at the same level we have in Africa. Look at the country, as I conclude, to give space to other people to speak. Look at countries like Congo. Congo is exorbitantly rich and wealthy, but its people are poor.
When you talk
because
of Congo, there are two Congos. Which Congo are you meaning?
DRC.
Yes, be specific. Say, look at the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay, thank you for putting that right.
Yes, because this is an African space. Africa matters. We don't want other people in Congo to say no, but we are not rich.
Yes.
There are two Congos. There is for people, for viewers on this platform. There are two Congos. Hold your fire, LMP.
Yeah, sure.
Two Congos: Democratic Republic of Congo, which is DRC, which is the biggest south of River Congo, and then there is north of River Congo or east of River Congo. If you are in Kinshasa, you can see Brazzaville across. If you are seated in the State House of Kabila, where he went and sat with Kabila, now Tshisekedi, you can see the other State House of Congo, Ngwema, Ngwema of Congo, across. In fact, I think the king of Congo, of Brazzaville, king of Brussels, Belgium, wanted these two houses to communicate and look at each other. They could wave. Maybe the wife would sleep on the other side of the river and the husband could sleep this side. So there are two Congos, for your information, on the platform. The one of Brazzaville and the other one of Kinshasa. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masanga. Yeah, I'm talking about the DRC, that's the Democratic Republic of Congo. That you'd find like everything that is used to produce a phone that you use to speak to you guys must have a mineral from Congo. But the people, the largest number of people in Congo are still languishing in chronic poverty. So whether we have a sovereign fund, like you, whichever name you choose to give it, the purpose and the aims and objectives of that fund will be the same as what is provided for in the African Development Bank, because the monies, the funds that are going to be put in that basket, right, which you call a fund, every African country would presumably contribute and put a certain percentage of money, of amount of money in that basket. But before we even think about that, if we still have the Francophone countries that are still really legally obligated to submit their budgets to France and to send the collections, the revenues to France before they even start funding their economy, they need to send a budget to France. If we have Africa has not sorted out those issues that are so pertinent, then this may not really work. Now, going to why we go to borrow. All countries borrow. Okay? So, Africa is not going to be unique. Countries, even the Western world, those developed countries borrow money. Okay? But how they use their money that is borrowed is always checked and put to the good use. And that is a question of leadership. So we need to sort out the leadership issue. And these leaders come from us, because as the citizens of these countries, Africa, will have to change and understand why we choose those leaders. And let's not go in bed with them to enjoy the corrupt goodies that these guys steal from us, because that will push us far away and keep us in this poverty that we are languishing in Africa. Thank you very much, Dr. Masanga, and everyone to listen to me.
Okay, thank you very much. You have landed the microphone. Tawish, testing the microphone, my brother. You have been there waiting. Is it time for Africa to have a sovereign as a co-host? Test the microphone, and then we shall speak in this order now. Nelita will speak. Zulu was here first. Nelita will speak. Zulu, Ade, and who else? Yes, let's speak in that order. Nelita, Zulu, Ade. But first, Tawish, co-host. Test the microphone.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. David Masanga, for this very, very important discussion. And thank you for all the panelists for making contribution, not only around Africa, but of course, globally. It's very, very timely that we are having this discussion at a time when the African continent is really struggling when it comes to the issue of financial independence. And I think this is where the discussion is geared towards to. Dr. Masanga and all the panelists, and of course the viewers who are watching this program, and everybody else who is listening to this program will indeed acknowledge the fact that one of the biggest setbacks Africa as a continent has been facing as the issue of financial independence or financial stability. And often by virtue of African countries relying on a foreign donation, it has been argued, and it's something that is actually argued that African countries continued over-reliance on the foreign donation as to a larger extent compromised the sovereignty of the individual African countries. And I think I agree with this kind of reasoning for the simple reason, Dr. Masanga, that today, how come that the African continent, even with the vast resources that we have, with the so many rich mineral resources that we have, with the potential that is in the manpower of the African people, how come that we are not able really to make it for ourselves in terms of financial independence? And I think because of the merchants in the African continents in the name of leaders, most of them that are being used by, of course, the Western power imperialists, it has become very, very difficult, if not impossible, really for us to get out of the hostage that is financial independence. And I think it is time we need to go back to the drawing board and really put to task the leadership that we are putting into place. How come that we cannot, by the end of the day, sit down together as a continent, sit down as a leadership of this continent, and think on the way forward of addressing the issue of financial independence. One of the panelists in this discussion has indeed mentioned, and I tend to agree, that we have the very good, say, for example, initiative and infrastructures that have been put in place. For example, the African Development Bank and so many of other institutions. How come that we cannot be able to pool our funds onto that one autonomy or autonomous organ, like, for example, the African Development Bank, or any other organ that we can have in place, so that these funds can be able to address issues that matter to the African people and the African continent. And even if it's about the foreign donation, we can have the foreign donations really channeled onto this one specific pool of funds, so that the African people and the African leadership can then be able to determine which of the areas of necessity and priority can these funds be channeled to, other than having individual countries really go out there, borrow, and ask for this foreign donation. And by the end of the day, we've seen how these foreign donations and aid have negated the efforts of these respective countries in terms of their sovereignty. And for example, today someone has given an example of the DR Congo, and with the vast natural resources that it has. Talk of the Central African Republic. Talk of the other African nations really that are rich in oil, that are rich in diamond, rich in gold, and so many of the other resources. If we can be able to think as the African people how we can explore or rather exploit these resources for the benefit of our people in the African continent, then I do not see an atom of reason for us to continue relying, or the over-reliance on the foreign donation for that matter. Because again, the reason why we are having so much interest coming from the Western power imperialists coming to the African continent today, it's not more of really this giving us the foreign donations or foreign funds, but it is more of using that as a scapegoat for them to exploit the resources that could otherwise really help our people here in the African continent. So yes, I agree. It is time we need to think outside the box. It is time we need to really have a conversation, a positive conversation towards having a one pool of fund for the African continent, that which is going to make sure that it's going to address the issues that matter to the African people, Dr. Masanga. So moving forward, I think this is a discussion that you cannot say it's a one-off kind of talk. It's something that we must continue to push and ask our leadership to rise to the occasion. Those who mean well for the African people and for the African continent. We all remember Muammar Gaddafi and other leaders who are pushing for, say, for example, a single currency in the African continent. That is also one of the things that we should be asking for, asking in this continent. How come, for example, the US has a dollar as a single currency that they are using, say, to do trade and to transact? But in the African continent, you cannot understand why in this century and time, we continue to have every country with its own, of course, a currency that they use to trade. And worse still, we even adopt the US as one of the superior currencies in the African continent, when we have the ability to sit down together and have one single currency that the African people will be using, say, in terms of trading. Dr. Masanga, and I think these are one of those very, very serious and important discussions and conversations that we must have without really thinking how the Western power imperialists and of course these conspirators are going to feel about it. Because by the end of the day, independence does not only mean political independence, does not only mean about the social independence. It also has to do with economic independence. It also has to do with financial independence and all aspects of independence. So these are some of the things we must confront, regardless of whether they're going to frown on us or to frown on us rather, or not. Because again, by the end of the day, we have and must have a full liberation for our people in the African continent. And one of this liberation must be on the financial front. I submit to Dr. Masanga.
You shouldn't submit to me, but I want to. You are the co-host. You could continue with calling on the queue. But let me first of all take this opportunity to thank my colleagues who are on this platform. I can see Tendai. I've already thanked you, Tendai. Thank you very much. Welcome. I can see Kennedy, my brother Kennedy Wandera. Thank you very much, Kennedy. Thank you for coming to the platform, my brother. Thank you very much for coming to the platform. This is a daytime. You are now, Kennedy, as you speak, you are on the television live and you'll be picked. So don't worry when your name is seen somewhere in another television station. You say, why was it? You are being picked live. I'm trying to introduce that move so that people can use other alternatives. Thank you very much, Matofo. One of my few people, Ambassador Okero. Thank you very much. And Jojo, thank you. All of you, Abda, thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. I don't know, Kim, Anne, thank you very much. You have been consistent in all my platforms. You always come in. But you, as you are on this line, you always follow each other, tag each other, follow each other, and that you will be receiving notifications for various. Let's go in the order then. Tawish, And thank you very much, Miriam Ogutu. Is she still here? Or she dropped out? Miriam Ogutu. Miriam Ogutu, is she there? She's gone. Miriam Ogutu, I tried to call you to come as a co-host, but you went off. But it's okay. The next time you can come in now. Thank you very much, viewers, and those watching us on TV, Punchline Africa TV, together with the Matsanga's Twitter space. You are welcome. Now, Nelita, let's see what you have for us, sir, madam. Nelita.
Oh, hi. Thanks for
I'm
giving me.
sorry to have said sir. I was meaning Zulu, but you are close to Zulu. Nelita, madam, let's have you give your views, please.
Can you hear me?
We hear you 100%.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga, for to give me space to say a few my own ideas. The way I see it is, yes, Africa needs a fund, but sovereign fund, but I think there needs a way to get that way. I think we should try to get the very rich people on the continent to start create, say, social enterprise fund, so that the young people can start building and try exploring and start, trying to build things from Africa. We have so many of our people that are exploring things, especially the young people, and then they invent something that is big, then they end up on another continent, and we lose all the talent. And then when they come back, when we want to buy now, we're importing things back onto our continent, and that's not working at all at the moment. So we need, because those people who have made millions and billions have access to persuade or to push for policies to change, for people to be able to even to say, okay, what you're doing, say Kenya is key in terms of technology and whatnot. At least if someone was to end up in Kenya, it is better because all our intelligence stays on the continent. And if someone, say, if another country is in finance and someone is coming up with solutions in terms of finance and whatnot, they move in another place, another country on the continent. And another thing as well, the older generation that is in politics, one of the things I think Signoro said earlier, that they are disconnected from the young people. And it is very easy when you don't socialize with people on a day-to-day to remember what the issues are, because things change and life changes, and people who are day-to-day interacting have no way to feed in or to share what the challenges are, what they need. So I think while we adopted the way of government, we should also acknowledge and accept that it's very important for them to step down, so that someone who is aware of what's going on, what people need, what's wanted, and other people step down and take positions of power, even to say permanent secretaries and whatnot, because it's like when you get older, you don't get in touch with technology, especially the fact that things change so fast. And revolutionaries are young people, not older people. And we need to allow them to lead. We have to trust that we have done enough for our children to step in and do what needs to be done. Even creating a fund, a sovereign fund. Everyone is talking about borrowing and whatnot. These young people will tell you how to monetize, where to find money, and how to do it in a quicker and easier way without necessarily have to borrow or have to sell something very big, because they've done it and they're aware of what's going on. And older people, especially when we look at, like, say, what's going on in technology, you talk about, we have NFTs, you have cryptocurrency, you have whatnot, and the older generation are not even talking about those things. And the issue of taking risks, the older you get, you take less risks with things. But we want our children to do a lot, but we restrict the capacity to try and new things, or even to have conversation with them, to say, okay, explain with them what is going on, or give them the space to work within different spaces for them to bring in new things. It's not like we are saying we should catch up with Europe or America or whatever the other countries that is developed or even China. But in that, we are not too behind with understanding what other things, because we don't necessarily need to copy other countries what they've done, but we need to prioritize our people, not to always be in a rush to say, okay, let's get, like what was said, you take a loan, then in exchange for, you get a loan and you're given a loan when you can't repay, and then in exchange for that you give away minerals or you give away something. In the end, we're going to be left with nothing. Yes, we have the roads, yes, we have the buildings and hospitals, of which will end up in the same space where we can't even afford to maintain the roads, to maintain the hospitals, to supply the equipment that's needed for those things, the resources that are needed, or even to pay staff, because we don't own whatever minerals that are underground. We don't own the minerals that we have, because there isn't a plan of how is it that we can get. Even in say, okay, let's build one country, create a way to refine minerals or to prepare it and sell it. Like, I'm proud that Ghana is saying they're no longer selling their chocolate to Switzerland, because Switzerland it claims that they have sweet chocolate, but they don't grow chocolate. And you have Bewley's chocolate and all that, because they don't grow chocolate, but we don't have our own brands. But instead of say, let's try to catch up with their standards, which they always say ours are not good enough, and we're always trying to catch their standards, we create our own standards, so that when they want our amazing foods, our amazing minerals, they use the standard that we set, because we own the mineral. So why are we being forced to have a standard which is not ours? And then it makes it easier for us to sell around ourselves. If they then decide they want to do something else, but they'll buy it at the price that benefits us as people. And the even starting to build, like, this space is very good with people from different parts of the continent, and we have this conversation. We need to grow that and make it bigger, so that we start realizing that we are the same people who are suffering the same challenges, and grow those relationships, and start, be able to say, okay, if one of us are struggling with something, we stand together and start calling for all to have peace. Like, we all supported each other to get independence. Now it's time to say, okay, we have the independence. Now we have to start now fight together to have like, to at least earn enough, for at least have cost of living, and earn enough to be able to mind our children, and to not measure our currency against the US dollar, because it's not working for us. And also to control who owns our land, who owns our minerals, who owns them. Even if it takes us a while to get there, at least we don't lose as much as we are losing. Right now, we have so many people who are mining and whatnot, and we're selling away everything. We are not benefiting much from this, because these guys take away their money. Like, I know, for example, because I'm Zimbabwean, I grew up at a mine. They dig everything, they take them to South Africa. You only are told, okay, so we mine gold, but within that, everything else that they make money out of, like lithium right now, it all goes and be refined in South Africa, and it's hidden and it's guarded, and then they make so much money out of it, and they only declare one mineral. Or because we are not refining our minerals in one place, so that we see exactly what is coming out of the space. So, but our young people, if we allow them to come up with solutions, we could be able to come up with a way to create cheaper materials, cheaper machines, to be able to do that. We don't necessarily need to say, oh, let's buy them from Europe. Could look at how can it be done? We're very intelligent people. We know what needs to be done. What we need is to start finding how, because if you look at our history, we used to do all this, our ancestors used to do all this without equipment. The intelligence is there. We just need to let our politicians to allow people to explore how this can be done in a way that works, in a cheap way that works. Then if we need equipment later on, then yeah, we can go and make it simpler and make it easier. Why not? But we can move at our own pace and not be forced to rush to show off, so that we say, oh yeah, we have roads, we have electricity, we have whatnot, at the expense of our future, expense for the future that we will never be able to sustain after we've given away everything, all in the bid to look like we are we have infrastructure that looks like people in other foreign countries, when it's not going to save us, and we're going to leave our children, like someone said, with $1 trillion debt. That is a scary thought to think, because none of us, well, I don't have $1 million. I'm not even a millionaire, let alone thinking of leaving my child with $1 trillion debt. That is scary. Thank you very much.
We lost you.
You lost me. Oh, I finished my. Thank you very much.
Am I next?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. David. It's a great space. Yeah, I think like the person before and a lot of people have been saying, I think we have the solutions. But I think what we should do more is use the technology that is around, use things like this to connect with each other. We should have a new Pan-African movement where people from different parts of Africa are connecting. I think we have the skills, we have the solutions already, but we're not breaking these issues that we have with each other. I think those are the fundamental things. We're not building with each other. We're not building locally. We're not building internationally. We're not building with other people. Inter-African trade is very, very, very small. I don't know why it's like that. We should be trading with each other. We should be moving with each other. It's not just the youth to create solutions. We all can create solutions. We could definitely, like, even people in this room, there's so many people, different people in this room. If we could follow each other and support each other in what we're doing, look at what people are doing and support each other. I'm part of Pan-African movements. I want people to connect. That's what I'm trying to do. So I think that's very important that we do that. I think it's important that we move together and we can do that. I think Africa is the future. Africa is the future, definitely. And I think even the world knows that. So we need to understand that and be moving in that direction. So it's very important that we do that. And like I say, definitely following each other, that are doing good things in the community and connecting, and we can really do something for the future. I'll land my plane there.
Thank you very much. You have been very candid, straight to the point. Zulu. Zulu, there you are. We took your space, but now you have the machine. You have it.
No, it's okay. It's okay, Doctor. Thank you for allowing me to share. I'm enjoying the space. We need more of these spaces to conscientize people. In today's world, we have the internet. Fortunately, we have great Black people who have done research to understand how the world works. Unfortunately, we did not get any of these systems. We were just integrated in them. We were never consulted about anything. This system created to serve white supremacy, and nothing has been done to correct that. We were just given a few rights, but to actually change the system itself, the core of the system, nothing has changed. So Africa must face the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is white supremacy. And I know we have been groomed to run away from that. We are suffering from grooming in all types of ways. Others are scared to say what they feel because they are scared to lose their jobs. These people even look at your web footprint. So these are the tactics they use to groom Africans into being beta males, which is what Africa is. We are no longer willing to bleed for anything. We just want solutions that come without a sacrifice. When we are dealing with gangsters, you need to be prepared for war. Africa will never be able to secure anything if they cannot defend it, you see. When you are dealing with such people, it doesn't matter what good plans you come up with, they will always destabilize you, blackmail you,
They have organizations like the CIA. You know, what is the CIA doing most of the time? Blackmailing leaders, collecting data on important leaders so that they can compromise them. And this is what is happening to our leaders. That's the truth. These leaders want to do right by their people, but they meet another reality behind the scenes. And this is another thing. Africa should have a politics system that is open and transparent. In Africa, back in the days, there would be a big meeting when there is something that has to do with the God-given resources that we all share, you know, and everyone will say something in front of everyone. But when you allow these leaders to go behind the scenes and negotiate with these devils, guess what? They'll be blackmailed, they'll be bribed, they'll be trapped. All types of tactics will be used on them. That's the reality. So China is able to do what it wants because it can protect itself. You have to be able to secure even the decisions you make. The good decisions that you are trying to make is not enough. You have to have muscle.
But can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How do we get there? I mean, instead of saying the government,
the first thing Africa needs to do is go after a united military force. Without that, forget, you will always be raped by other powers that have more power than you. And that's a reality. China has power. It has even bombs.
Zulu, hold
Yes.
the fire. You are saying before we go to protect this, I think you have a point somewhere. Somebody today.
It is the point.
This morning, before, no, wait, Zulu. Before I brought this topic, I talked to somebody in the banking sector very early in the morning. Then he said, you know, when you bring that topic, and the Africa creates a fund, IMF will come on your neck.
Yes.
Yes. Now, Zulu, you are confirming what this gentleman told me. Very senior gentleman on the continent of Africa. And some of the... So are you saying we first need a military force that can protect this fund so that nobody can threaten us? Is that what you are saying?
Yes. You see, when you are dealing with a gangster system like white supremacy, these people, it's a vampire system, you see. They thrive on other people's resources. Their economies are made of other people's resources. Those countries are left poor and destitute because they are being overexploited. There's been enough research to show this, you know, from Black Americans, even white people who are doctors. I remember Professor Michael Parenti, who talks about capitalism and how capitalism was actually created by the monarchs of Europe. When they were overthrown, they came up with a new way of organizing society so that they can benefit. So they came up with capitalism, you know. So there's enough research to show that when you are dealing with these gangsters, it doesn't matter what truth you speak. It doesn't matter what morals you try to point to them. If you cannot protect yourself, you will never be able to govern your country the way you want. Forget, because they will come and say, no, you must give us the contract for building an airport. You must give us a contract for doing this. Your resources must benefit us this way. This is what you must do with your mines. And you won't be able to have a choice because it's a silver or bullet when you are dealing with these people. You see, it's either you take the money or you die.
Zulu, if you allow me to just say one statement, we need a counter intelligence. I repeat, we need a counter intelligence which seeks to monitor.
Signoro, you ask me first. Yes.
Okay, let me just wrap up and finish.
What is your point, sir?
Instead of a military, I'm saying we need a counterintelligence. Counterintelligence is way above military. It seeks to find out how we were firstly colonized. The question which is
Signor, don't tell us. Don't give us fantasy. How will the counterintelligence help us when these people have the real army counterintelligence is just collecting information, Signoro.
Allow me to give the answer. Counterintelligence speaks to understanding. And I was saying it's a question which is trending, maybe you didn't hear. There are some people who are saying we want to find out how did these guys sit down and plan to colonize us. That speaks to colonization. Counterintelligence seeks to find methodology to a reverse psychology of the banks and corporates, reverse psychology of a capitalist system.
No, my brother.
And
okay, let me just finish.
It's not violent.
Okay, let me finish.
Signoro, hold your fire and let Zulu finish.
Okay, thank you, sir. Look, not everyone is going to go to war. If some of you are scared to go to war, I'm willing to go to war. You know, war is very important. You need to be able to defend what you have against people who don't mean you well. Why people don't mean us well, it doesn't matter what excuses you come up for them to say this is why they're doing it. They don't care. They will continue to benefit from our resources, and they don't care about our morals. Whatever excuses we give them, even if you show them dead children, they still don't care. They will take your land and push you to the driest land. We are renting here in South Africa. In South Africa, we own nothing. We came out of apartheid with nothing. We have this fake freedom that all these African countries have. And you know what? Why people know that these people are so docile, we can actually put them through the worst and they will never do anything. So we need to show them that it's either we respect each other and share this world, or no one is going to enjoy this world. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I want to thank you very much, all of you, and tell you tonight at 9:15 East African time and whatever time you are, South African time, you add 1 hour. Kennedy Wandera will be coming with another one, the heat of the hottest, where I am an in-house hunger man. I come there to hang people, and Wandera is always very scared of my hanging. Kenneth Wandera is on the platform. You are hearing the concerns of Africans. I just wish you said something small. Is it time for Africa to have a foreign fund? Why do we run around to borrow? Why do we borrow when we have Colotam? We have everything. We have everything that is needed. This gentleman, Zulu, has even shocked my heart. He says in South Africa, we have nothing. It is true. There's something that I have said several times, and thank you very much. Today, we shall discuss democracy in Africa. Wandera has just told me this evening. I think some of the questions will be answered in that session. But there's something Zulu has spoken that has shaken my heart, which I've been speaking that, Zulu, I want to tell you, and I want to apologize to you. When Mandela died, my tears did not drop out of my eyes. And when Mugabe died, my tears dropped out of my eyes. I even flew to Harare to go and bury to see him at the Rufaro Stadium. I don't blame you. Sorry. Wait. I know there are people, Zimbabweans here, who want to jump on my neck. But me in Africa, we bury the dead. We don't bury the alive. So for me, when he died, I had to go. And I have a choice to whom I should cry for. Because my tears are also special. They were made by God. Yes. So when Mandela went down, I said what Zulu has just said. He left South Africans with nothing, with BMWs, good BMWs, but they don't have anything. It's a sad story there. Zulu, you have confirmed something which I've been telling people all the time, and some of them hated me for speaking the truth. South Africa, you find people with BMWs, but they have nowhere to go at night. Some of them sleep in those houses. There is no home. In Zimbabwe, you can hate Mugabe the way you hate. You can hate anybody. You can talk about anything. First of all, Chamisa is even exporting flowers. Yes. I have a company of Chamisa and I've been following his exports. Everything. I've documented how much money he earns out of his flower exports. One day when he makes noise, I will put it to the public. So he's gaining from the land reform program, yet he hates the people who took land. So for me, there are problems that at times we should speak out our minds. South Africans, you look at that man. Now we have a man called Malema. Zulu, I don't know whether you are Malema supporters or not, or supporter or not, but Malema speaks very nicely during the daytime, but he goes to earn a living from this white supremacist again at night. So what type of Africa do we need? So the best thing is to have an African fund where people can borrow from each other. There is a point here, Ken and the other people who will advance this discussion further. Look at Dangote. We have African television stations. Where does Dangote advertise his cement? Does Dangote's cement build a house in America? Anybody on the platform from Nigeria, can you answer me? Dangote advertises not on Nigerian TV, but on CNN. Dangote cement. Have you seen that? Have you seen that, Wandera? It is very interesting. Look at that. Narrator said that the people like Dangote, the rich people in Africa, can start a fund. If they start a fund, they will even beat us better. This fund must be started by governments. They must be started by the people. Resolutions given by the mandate, given by the nationals, say there is an African fund. For example, when I grew up, there was a fund for the liberation of South Africa, Rhodesia, and other states. There was a fund. We had a fund that was liberating people. There was that fund. Where has that fund gone? Where has that spirit gone? And we liberated these states in Southern Africa. They had nowhere to go. We had the fund. Can Africa create this fund again? Is it time for us to create a fund to go and help mediation in Tigray and Ethiopia? Is it time for us to create our own fund to be able to go to Central African Republic and say, our mediators here, can you sit down as Africans? Is it possible for us to go to Libya and say, hello, you have been fighting for too long. We have our own money. We want you to conduct a peace process. Is it possible for us to have our own fund to fund the Sudan peace process? You see, the South Sudan peace process is collapsing because they don't have the money. Kennedy, and you people, journalists, top guys, journalists who are here, come and talk about these things when you have time. Some of us Africans, we have tried, and we continue to try. We might not be there to get what the answers, but I want to ask you as my brothers to continue discussing these African issues that kill us every day. I think there was, we have finished the first three. Now we come to the second three. We have organization. Where did you go? I brought you up, you disappeared. Organization Health Club. We have IAT, then DMX. Then we can have again, wait, you want to come back? DMX, go ahead now. DMX, you have the microphone. Ayet, you have the microphone. Ayet, you have the microphone.
Hi, I was born in the UK. My views on this is, I don't think
you were born where?
UK, but but my parents are African. So can I have a view on this? It's not. I don't think it's borrowing, because it was already taken from us. If anything, we need to get back what we're owed. None of anything that we get from all these countries are borrowing, because they've taken from us in the past, like so much from us. And in this day and age, to have a debate like, why do we still borrow? It's because they've taken from us. They've taken so much from us that we have to. And it's not borrowing. We're taking it back. We need to take it back. You see the Queen who's just died the other day. What was on her crown? Where were those jewels from? You understand, like, so it's just not about, why are we borrowing? It's more about, why did they feel...
You are in UK. You are in UK, my dear brother. Where you are? I don't know. What is the point you are trying to make here, sir? You are...
The point I'm trying to make is, it says here, it says here, it's time for Africa to have a sovereign fund. Why do we borrow? I'm saying it's not borrowing.
You're okay.
I'm saying that literally we don't borrow. We take back what we want. We need to take.
You are taking back what was taken from you.
Yeah, we need to take back what was taken from us. Because I see it like, I might be born in UK. You might see me as like less entitled to.
No. We respect everybody.
Yeah. So like,
and that's why this platform is here for you. Yeah. Feel free and put your views, but don't insult anybody.
Yeah, I won't.
That's all.
Yeah,
especially when you are a man like you, black man like me, we don't insult dead people.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Because the dead people will not come to tell us where they got the crown from, the diamond.
I'm not telling the dead person, because Elizabeth wasn't the person that came to Africa to take the crowns for the jewels. I'm saying the crown that she even wore on her head had jewels stolen from Africa. So just think about, like, all around the world, like how much of our culture has been stolen and taken around the world, and it's been stripped from us. And then we're the ones left, like...
All right.
But
thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for your contribution, boss. You have any? You are still landing, or you haven't landed?
What do you mean?
Have you landed?
Landed.
Are you landing the microphone?
Landed.
Yeah. You know you are speaking English.
Yeah.
I am speaking African English.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, are you landing the microphone now?
Yeah. Yes.
Or you have some few words? What do you think about an African fund? Is it good to have it so that in case of emergencies, Africans themselves can share what they have? What do you think of an African country producing oil? Then it takes oil to United Kingdom for refinery. To be refined, then brought back and sold to the country where the oil came from. What do you think about that? Is it craziness?
I think that is wrong. Because it feels, to be honest, my opinion on this is the world has a way of trying to take as much as they can from people, like from countries that don't have as much. Like it gets to a point where it's just like tedious just watching it. Like, how much power does one country want over a whole continent? like, I'm not even going to talk about African country. I'm going to talk about the continent, because you see it in the world. The world has a view on Africa.
Sorry, Dr. Masanga, we can't hear the speaker.
Yeah, can you, boss? You know the speaker speaking English only. So, boss, the people are saying speak up so that they hear you, sir.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you, but don't go to that Oxford down English.
Yeah.
Where are you situated, sir? Are you in central London, North London? Where?
I'm in the south.
Southeast.
South London, yeah.
South London, you should be in. Are you in Catford?
Yeah. Yes, I'm in Catford. What? How do
Yes,
you know
I can. My satellite system is very powerful. It can locate where you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are in Catford near Lewisham.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I grew up learning intelligence. So go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, as I was saying, like, I don't like. Yes, we do need the fund. Yes, I think there should be a fund, but to call it a fund is what I find wrong about it. Shouldn't be a fund. It should be, we're giving back what was taken. I hate the fact that we have to ask for something that was ours to begin with. Understand? Like, it just doesn't make sense how we live in a world that's meant to be united, but it's just not. Like, there's no unity amongst the people, except from, like, I feel unity with Black people all the time. Like, every time I'm with my friends, because I have my Black friends, yeah, I feel like that's a family. I feel like family, not friends, family. But when you try and mix with, like, different cultures and stuff, people look at you funny. They look down on you. They shun you. They think, why are you over there with those people if you're part of this group? And they see it as groups. That's the problem. And it's all about who comes out on top. Like, who's the top group? Like, that's my opinion. I'm finished.
Okay. Thank you very much, my dear.
If I may get 1 minute, I would like just to say a few things about, especially how we can change the whole system. The whole system, as been said, anyway, nothing special I would bring into it. However, the army without intelligence is nothing. We need an army with an intelligence, but it has to be supervised or monitored or watched by an independent commission, as one of my friends, which is Senor, mentioned a little while ago, by National Elderly Commission, sort of thing. First, that's what we have to establish. Africans, a group of Africans that has been clean in the power. Thank you to Kenyans so far. We have one, at least in Africa, which is Uhuru at the moment. How much corrupt he is, the least what Africa needs has delivered, which is peaceful power transition. That would give him that clear to be respected as one of our elder, one of our responsible leaders. So people like him who handle the power peacefully should be appointed into the Elder Commission, African Elder Commission, that runs those two firms, the army and the security intelligence. Once we have those two.
Who is speaking now?
This is our Minister, Dr. David.
Adi.
Awad.
Oh, Awad.
Yeah, I'm back.
Awad, you always come with your very, very dangerous associations, eh?
No, doctor, that's the fact. That's what
exactly. I mean, I think we're missing steps here. It's all about us linking together. It's what we can do. It's not what they can do. It's more what we can do. I think people project.
Yes, we can do it. That's why we're opening up these forums.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. David.
Then we must discuss the military later. Then
Yeah,
we must
exactly.
discuss. Yes,
Exactly.
if
We
we
have to
go,
be
if we mix all of them
Yeah,
together.
but Eddie,
exactly, Dr.
let's
David.
start
Thank
here.
you.
No,
Can I
no,
just say
let's
something
start.
quickly? Can I just
Yeah,
say something
okay.
quickly?
Yeah,
It's more
Eddie,
about
let's
what
start
we.
here. What we can do. Okay, we have to form some sort of power. Without a power, we won't be able to move
Okay,
No,
anywhere.
before
okay,
power,
okay. That one
before
I've
power, we
agreed.
need to be on the
I
same
have
page.
agreed
No,
now.
no, no, no. I don't mean
Let
when I
me
say
give
power, I don't
one
mean a
person
power
to
that
speak.
attack a military power, Eddie. A power
Await,
that delegate a lead,
await.
a
You are on
leading
the floor.
force.
Yes, finish. Await, you can now finish.
All right, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I can. I rather listen, but that's my opinion anyway. We have to have those three connected, and without those three, and we can start it here right now. Okay, this is the platform we have. On this platform, we have to create that kind of idea, that sentiment into our people. Then that's where
Yes.
we can lift off. Otherwise, things won't move anywhere. But we have to
Thank
agree
you.
at some point, which is three main institutions that Africa needs. Okay, the money, the power, the security, the army, and the intelligence. Without this, and this has to be led and supervised by a clean African leaders for certain years until Africa is united and being able to create its own intelligent children to lead.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
go
you.
now?
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can go.
I think people are missing steps. When I come to these kind of spaces, people project. Before you have these armies and leaders and all these kind of things, we have to start having more links with different people. We have to create these unions, these institutions by building with people, like-minded people. That's important. We should be using technology to build. Are people following each other that are doing good things in the community? Are we following? Are we actually doing that? Are we supporting these things that we want? Are we just saying that we want it and not supporting it? I think we have to connect what we're saying and what we're doing a bit more. I said, I think a new type of Pan-African movement is necessary. People from different places that are saying the same thing and want the same thing. We should be moving in more that direction. I would say first. We have to do this succinctly in specific steps. I think that's important. I like this space. Thank you, Dr. David. It has a lot of like-minded people. So if like-minded people can do things together and think of ways that we can support each other, physical ways that we can do that, using the power of social media, we can get somewhere. I think that's a very, very important way of pushing forward. We have to do specific physical, practical steps.
Thank you very much, Ade. Thank you very much, all of you. We have a few minutes left. It is 31 minutes past 12. We have shot up. We shall be having 3 hours every Friday of this space. If you have any African topic that you want us to discuss, always book this time at 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We shall always be discussing this, and you'll be discussing to also other viewers and listeners on Punchline Africa TV. Behind the scenes, they are watching, they are listening, people are making comments, and your views will be heard. We need a better Africa. We need to change the modus operandi. We don't need to wait. We don't need to follow the news, VOA. You can follow it. CNN, you can follow BBC, you can follow. But we can also follow our own way of discussion as Africans. This morning, this has been very enlightening that everybody has spoken, and we still need some people to speak. So I will give organization, then come to Dr. M, Dr. Mohammed Hussein. Follow each other. Don't forget to follow each other. Then I come to Faino. Then I think we can have my sister. I have called my sister Tendai to just come in and say one good word from the lady from my good country, my daughter Tendai. Just a word to say bye-bye. Oh, thank you very much, Daddy. And Kennedy, I know you are sparing your throat for tonight. But it is okay to say a word. And we have, don't forget to tune to Kenneth Wandera at 9:15 space. Very vibrant space. Today, they are going to talk about democracy in Africa. Is there democracy? Surely, what is democracy? And who is preaching democracy? Democracy has been there for 1,900 years. And for us, we are being told after 55 years to have democracy. Organization, bring it now. Mr. Speaker, you have the microphone. There you are. Organization, you are to speak now. Ask you to speak. Okay, Dr. Mohammed, this man is still sleeping on the microphone. Dr. Mohammed, take it. Dr. Mohammed. Anybody final? Can you speak now?
Oh, yes. I think that Dr. Mohammed is still sleeping. Good morning, Dr. Matanga. I'm from Zimbabwe myself.
Yes, go on.
Sense of. Doctor, I just wanted to thank you for the space, particularly. I'm not here to make any submissions. Thank you so much for bringing such topics. I am one of your followers because you are so keen on African politics, particularly the opposition parties. So it is important that we engage. And I suppose I will come to your DMs and see how we can engage and come up with spaces that cover all of opposition politics in Africa as a whole. Thank you so much for the space. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. I can't, there are very few people, who can thank you, but follow me and we are home. Thank you very much, my brother. Dr. Mohammed, are you awake now? Organization, are you awake? We are calling you and you are not taking the microphone. Take the microphone.
Dr. Masanga, I think organic is the one you're calling, because if you say organization, then it doesn't know it's the one.
Oh, are you calling organic? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Voice of Senor.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had to step out for a while. I didn't really get the complete question, apart from the one. I mean, what did you ask, except for the topic on ground, or should I just talk about what I think?
Is it you are saying organic? Okay. The topic is this. Are you the one we are calling you? Is it time for Africa to have a foreign fund? Sovereign fund, sorry.
Oh. Well, I think it depends more on the people and our ability to do that ourselves, because obviously we can't depend on our leaders to do that for us, or because if they were to be depended upon, they would have done it a long time ago and they would have made it something they would do themselves, but for reasons best known to them, they haven't done it, they haven't talked about it, and I think I heard someone say that they were ready for war like a few moments earlier. And I was like, well, as a woman, I'm not opposed to war, but I'm also opposed to war because it's not easy to, reproduce children that grow up to be adults and are just tossed to war. But I think that what comes first is psychological warfare, we can recall what is popularly called the Opium War and all of that. So, it's psychological. They fashion a weapon against you, like the Bible says. So they don't just come with the tanks and the weapons, physical weapons we see at first. They come with psychology. So it's like they've read us, so to speak. They've read us, they've understood us. And, when you talk about funds coming in from outside, borrowed or otherwise, you worry because they don't stay within us. So how do we even come together and put funds together when what we're even borrowing and all of that does not even stay within us? I think they find it easy to borrow us this money because they know it's coming back to them one way or the other. And I think this is something we have to start. This thing is something we have to start as individuals. Like, what am I doing that is defunding my country? What am I doing that is defunding my continent? You understand? So now I'm very conscious from what I buy. It starts from so-called small things like that. You know, what I buy. If it's from abroad, I take the time. And that's one thing some of us don't do. Maybe a lot of us are doing that now, but you just see something nice, you just buy it. You know, you don't look at where is it made from, who made it, for whom. You know, it starts from things like that. By the time you know the person selling things to you, you know, like my beauty products, for example, I buy it from people that I know, you know, my brothers, my sisters that do these things, you know, and they're fantastic products. I used to buy from abroad, but I'm like, you know what, your products are good and all that, but right now we need to keep the money we have within us here. So are we exporting ideas and bringing in funds? When I say exporting ideas right now, like selling finished products, so to speak, and getting money instead of sending out raw materials like usual, you know. So these are some of the things we have to look at. And I was just thinking about the sandwich. The thing about us coming together is a risky thing because we always have issues of betrayal. So I think the best thing we can do is, you don't know what I'm doing to better my country and my continent. I don't know what you're doing. So we make it a sandwich issue. When you make a sandwich, you look at it from this angle. One slice of bread does not see the other slice of bread, but they are working for the same purpose. So if you throw it in a toaster, no matter how high the filling of the sandwich is, it will become very flat. So if we sandwich whatever it is our problems are, like those in the diaspora and we from within, we all do our own reconnaissance work. So we sandwich whatever it is that is keeping us down. So I don't know what you're doing, you don't know what I'm doing, so you can't betray me, you know. Us coming together, maybe not now, you know, but us doing things as individuals, it keeps things rolling, you know. And those who are, you know, doing all they can to keep us as third world will not even know where the thing is coming from. They just know it's something is happening, but no gathering anywhere. You know, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, and we're just behaving like all is well, but they can tell that all isn't well, you know. So whatever it is you have, whether it's psychological warfare, whether it's prayers, because I believe in the power of prayer, it changes a lot of things. And the little things from what you buy, the things who you sell to and things like that. So those are the things I think we can start with at first, then we can build from there. Thank you very much.
Sure, but can I just say quickly, can't we connect? I hear what you're saying about not necessarily working together in that respect, but can't countries and people connect with each other and kind of trade with each other and things like that? Instead of you know, because what the West does is that they put everything towards them. Why do we bring everything towards us? That would be the way. So you don't have to be necessarily trying to work together in that respect, but just pulling things together. More inter-Africa trade. That's all.
So thank you very much. Inter-African trade, what Organic has just said and what others say, it is important to increase inter-African trade. It is important. You know, this subject is huge. When you are going to, this is the only way to corner African heads of state. Instead of us going to beating about the bush by saying we want inter-African trade, it won't work. You know, up to now, I don't know how many countries are buying goods from the other without a war, without war of words. I can see eggs from Uganda being stopped. Wandera doesn't want to eat our eggs. That Kennedy Wandera does not want to eat our eggs. Tendai, did you know that? That Wandera does not want to eat our eggs. I'm accusing him openly here today. When the eggs from Uganda are sent to Kenya, Kenyan farmers start saying, we don't want these Ugandan eggs. You see, milk from Uganda, plenty of milk. Uganda is pouring milk. It's just pouring milk, which is needed somewhere in Somalia. That milk is needed somewhere in Ethiopia, in Tigray. But we don't have the facilities. So if we have a fund, an African fund that can compensate, that can facilitate for that milk to reach. Remember, if you look at what Kenya has done, Uhuru has created the light railway. The light railway goes halfway, almost 3/4 of Kenya. It is going up to Kigali, Rwanda. And perhaps it will go up to DRC Congo, into the Atlantic Ocean, from Indian Ocean to Atlantic Ocean. Now we have the East African Community. This light railway, SGR, you can leave Mombasa with it in the morning and go on working on your laptop because there is internet in it throughout up to Kigali. You deliver your tomatoes, very well organized, good tomatoes from Kenya. You get a buyer, somebody who buys them in Kigali. You say, I'll return on Friday to collect the money. That is the benefit of infrastructure. And that infrastructure is there now in Africa. But we don't have the heart. We are not honest with each other. We don't look at each other as brothers. We look at each other as enemies. Even on platforms like these ones, we want almost to finish. I have seen Wandera almost calling people to order. I have seen some people who come in to attack some of us, and some of us are resilient from attacks because we are battle-hardened Pan-Africanists. So when can we start an African version of Julius Nyerere, Kaunda? That version is gone. When can we have it? That we can have a fund. When we see a brother, most of you who live in Britain as I land, you cannot borrow. Is there anybody who is on the money from Catford? You can't go to your neighbor and say, I need some salt. I want salt. But where in my country, Uganda, where I come from, salt was, you could go to a neighbor, you say, my salt got finished last night. Can I have some salt for my vegetables this afternoon until I buy tomorrow? But in Britain, when you do that and go and borrow salt from the neighbor, you will be accused. If there are children in your house, the social security, social services will be on your door tomorrow morning. Because it means you have a problem in the house. You don't have salt, then how do these children eat? They start investigating you. This is real, what I'm telling you. But here in Africa, we still have that spirit of sharing. It has gone away by some people, it has been diluted, but it is still there. So can we start this fund where we can help each other? A fund where if Kenya has money and there is it has a surplus money. China is not giving us money from their hardcore money. They are giving us from surplus. China is People who go to China to buy goods, you are not buying goods from China's factory in finish the goods. You are buying China's surplus production. They have enough slippers. They have enough manufactured goods. They have so many things that they later on sell to us, and we are here happy. We come back. But yet, if we created a fund, we can make toothpicks. Do you know that we go to China to import containers of toothpicks? Very few African countries can make toothpicks. Yet the trees are taken from Congo forest. Every day I see them pass here, and then I see origin in Busia, where Wandera comes from. There are so many trailers packed with our trees, but Wandera has never asked where are they being cut from. I'm not accusing you, but these are things that we must look at, and that's why I created. Why do we borrow when we have plenty? I now can conclude that question for you. Why do we borrow when we have plenty? The other gentleman from Catford said, we are taking back what they stole. How do you prove they have stolen? They will tell you, did we steal? You are sleeping. While you are praying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Someone was taking away 200 plots, acres. So how are you going to fight him? The only way to do it is to unite now and seek alternative ways of making sure that you create a conducive Africa. Let's have 2 or 3 speakers. There is a gentleman, I don't know the name, the letters are written in Ethiopian. Yes, Ethiopian man up there. That is Ethiopian language. Can you speak, sir? I don't know the name. I have tried to.
Okay.
Worldwide. Ethiopia. Yes,
Okay.
This should
Thank
be
you.
Ethiopia or one of those countries.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. David, for having the chance.
Are you from? You are
And
from where, sir?
yeah, Ethiopian.
Yes, exactly. I am right. Then, hallelujah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Doctor. Yeah, thank you so much. Very interesting topic and very enlightening and very critical. I think it is time to reflect such kind of issues, critical issues for us as Africans, and we need to have our own institutions because I believe that that's the only solution for us. And you know, I am one of the Africans that believe that sorry, it is Africa which is feeding the world, not the world feeding Africa. So we have the resources, we have everything, but the problem is we don't have our own independent institutions. So I do completely support this subject and idea, and we need to, you know, expand it to other African youth so that they become critical and they reflect about what's happening and they need to decide for their future. Saying that, I have a few questions for you, Dr. David, and the other colleagues which are here. And the first question that I have is, yes, it is good to have our own institutions, sovereign institutions, like sovereign funding and the others, but do we still know that we are in the sort of colonization? I mean, do we have already finished the African revolution towards independence, or we are yet in the yoke of colonization? Like, do we have really political independence or economic independence, or do we have our own currency? For example, I can mention the African, Western Africa and Central Africa. They are using the franc CFA, Colony Française Africa. That means 8 West African countries and 6 Central African countries. They are still using the colony currency. And I doubt about their independence as well, about their economic and political independence as well. And the other question that I have is, Yeah, like the African Union, is it really an independent institution for Africans that could fight for the interest and the sovereignty of Africans, or yet it is a slave system for the other institutions, powerful institutions like the United Nations? And do we have, for example, a voice, a permanent voice in the African, in the United Nations Security Council? Because we have a big institution, we have never participated in the First World War, Second World War, and we cannot be considered as the defeated members of the world. And why is still not Africa, which has a big population, and the continent that feeds the world, still doesn't have any voice in the United Nations Security Council permanent members? Is also another question for me, because these issues that I am raising, they are very critical for political input for the independent institution, like the issue that you are mentioning, to have a sovereign fund for Africans. And I would like also to add another question for reflection. Like most of the Africans, I think they are using the Westerners' name. For example, you know, they don't even understand their original names, because they are trying to act like the Westerners, and their original names and their language cultures are being monopolized and also manipulated by the other developed forces. So what I'm trying to say is, still now as Africans, we are not.
I hope you are. I hope my brother from Ethiopia. I hope you are not hitting us. His name is David, and the gentleman from Catford, whose English was very complicated to hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, well, I mean, Dr. David, look, what I'm trying to say that
you have very good points. You have made very good points there.
Thank you, thank you. What I'm trying to say is, for example, the Westerns, as you know, they have several issues that connect them. They focus on those issues that connect them, that rather than on those issues that divide them. You know, for example, we can see ABCD, the Latin one, the Latin ABCD. Everyone uses it in the Western countries, like be it from France, German, UK, or America, Canada, Australia, or name them. They use all of them. They use the ABCD Latin scripture, so that they become connected as a factor. But the Africans still today, they don't even know the original African scriptures, like that I am reading, you know, that I am using. For example, in my name profile, it is a very indigenous African scripture that could be used as a connecting factor for everyone. For example, in Africa, but most Africans, they are using either Arab scriptures, either, you know, the Latin scriptures, be it French or English or Spanish, or, you know, you see what I mean? This is the problem, you see. So we need to see inside and become our own. We need to have our own mentality, be liberated first, you know, because we are still living in the mental slavery instilled to our continent. That's what I am trying to say. And thank you so much for the chance, Dr. David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Big companies thriving through exploitation. Really, thank you very much. Now I want to come to the two speakers or three speakers. Then I give the chance to vote of thanks. I will still ask my sister to close this as a vote of thanks and say bye-bye to us. I always like her voice. My daughter Tendai. So get ready, come up here and say something. But that is not a problem. We have a new speakers who have just come. Baha, some.
Yes. It is Brahman.
Bahen perspective. Please always follow me on Friday for 3 hours and tell more and make more. Tell other people. We want to change the subject. We want to use the same equipment. We want to use the same machinery of. We want to use the same machinery of these guys to change them. You see, we want to use the same machinery of these gentlemen, of the people who created these platforms, also to educate our people, because this is the only chance. I don't know whether Tendai you asked to be a speaker, but I had wanted you to be a co-host, but there you are. I've put you now. Mr. Bahen, perspectives.
Okay,
Give
thank
us
you.
your perspective on the fund, on
All
the
right.
sovereign fund. Are you from Somalia or from Ethiopia?
I'm from Tigray, yeah, from Ethiopia.
From where?
From Tigray.
Tigray.
Yeah, Tigray, Ethiopia. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Tigray, yes. And we have called on you and my friend here. Cease fire. Please, you are good, you have come here. Cease fire. We want to come in and allow food to go. Cease fire. Please. Please. I've written another article on my DM. Please. Cease fire. I'm begging you. Cease fire. Cease fire so that people can bring in humanitarian food to the people that need that food. Thank you very much. Take the platform. The mic
Okay,
is yours.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, regarding the ceasefire, actually, yeah, the Tigray government is calling ceasefire many times, but you know, the Ethiopian government still wants to kill more Tigrayans. We can see a lot of reports from New York Times, Washington Post daily. Like there is a lot of strikes. You know, even today there was strike, drone attack, area raids, and massacres. It's everywhere in Tigray. So the Tigray government is usually calling for peace talk, but the Ethiopian government is not ready for it. So still they are killing more.
Okay. Now come to
Okay.
I just brought that one as a sense of.
All right. Let me talk about
the two of you from the same country, separated by conflict. Don't start it. We shall bring a separate.
Yes. All right.
A separate day on it. President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, the former president, is working flat out to make sure that there is peace. And some of us are helping him behind the scenes to make sure that the peace comes in that region. So give him that support. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the good wishes. Okay, so this is really good topic that we all Africans must discuss. So first of all, I want to start from the question. So sovereign fund, I think economically we are poor, so we cannot have sovereign fund from the beginning. So usually we are, when someone is weak, you become vulnerable for the strong ones. You know, now in the world works survival of the fittest. You know, if you are not strong, you cannot survive. If you are weak, you are vulnerable. So, but the fact is that Africa has 30% natural resource of the world. So we have the highest percentage of natural resource, but still we are the poor. We don't have even one country in the center or in the corner like European country, like Belgium or Germany or whatever. So those are many factors. I really think there are many factors that leads us to this poverty. It can be the war and crisis, like the population growth. We have a lot of climatical conditions also. We have very poor agricultural system. We have very poor. We have a lot of corruptions, weak political systems, and very unfair or unjust trade structure we have also in Africa. So we all know this problem. We have a lot of problem in Africa, a lot of crisis in Africa, a lot of war and a lot of deaths and a lot of things we have in Africa. Okay, so what is the root cause for this? We need to come to the root cause. How can we solve this problem? So to have fund in Africa, we need to be economically stable. We need to be rich. How can we be rich first? So the Westerns are coming to Africa. They are using the manpower. They are using the natural resource. They are using the raw materials. They are processing the materials. They are they are selling to us, and some of them they are taking to their country, to Europe or whatever you call it, to USA or something. Why is this happening? They are taking only using the labor at low cost and the natural resource freely. They are using in Africa. They are selling us the product at expensive, like at very expensive cost. So why is this happening? So we have low employment rate. So they are coming to Africa, and we can hire some people. So we need to have some factory here. We want to textile factory, or we want to have something. Then they come and they use at $2 per day. They use the human labor. The labor is the most expensive. They use the electricity. They use the water, which they cannot use in their country. So they want to use those natural resources at very low cost and process the product, and they took it to their country. That's what's happening. We have a lot of industries in Ethiopia. I know textile industry, like Indonesia, India textile company. We have Italy textile company. We have a lot of. They use man labor and other resources. Then they take the clothes. They don't even sell the jeans or something in Ethiopia. They take it to their country. So why they are coming? They are coming only to use the resource like electricity, water, and labor at very low cost, because they cannot do that in their country or in Italy or like that. So when you come to the root cause, we are poor. Why we are poor? Because in the back, let's say in the
May I disagree? May I debate here, if you allow me, Dr. David? I just wanted to ask question for our brother Brahana.
Okay. Let me finish, Dr. Aragao. Then you will ask me.
This was coming now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because I disagree about the poverty.
Listen, I knew this was coming. I know.
No. We are the same. No. We are the same political point of view, even.
Yeah, I hope you are not going to.
No. We are not going to discuss. So, Dr. Aragawi, let me finish. Then you ask me at the end, because I'm almost done with my talk. Okay. So we were great. That's right, because we can see the China's dynasty. You can see the South American Inca, or whatever you call it, in Asia, Roman Empire, British Empire. Like, we have also our own empire. We have our own development. We have like our ancestors had that. So we were developed. Why we are poor now? So when you come to the root cause, the root cause is not the people's mentality difference, or the people's emotional quotient or intellectual quotient difference. That's not the reason. The only difference is, or the only root cause is, the political system. The political system is the main root cause, because we have high infant mortality, because we don't have hospitals, because we don't have a lot of doctors. Why we have low human development index? Because we don't have democracy. That is the root cause. The root cause is democracy. If you have democracy, you will have educational system, good education system. You will have like all agricultural development, infrastructure, everything. So the root cause is democracy.
Yeah, where
we need to come to we need to have.
Yeah, you are not. Why don't you allow me in?
Okay. All right. So the main cause is democracy. We don't have democracy. We need to have democracy first. If you have democracy in Africa, we don't have democracy so far. There is no country. There is no democratic country in Africa. You can Google it. You can see the democracy index. We don't have democracy. If you have that democracy, everything will come up. The development, everything will follow. The education system will grow. The agriculture will grow, because educated people will be in a position. The problem now is, there is corruption. Why there is corruption? There is no education still. Why there is no education? Because there is no fair education. The educated people, like the knowledgeable people, are not in power. Someone who has a relative is in power. This is the problem all over Africa. So if we develop democracy, we will have everything. Trust me. That is the only difference why the Western are ahead of us, because they build democracy. not we don't have any. The color difference is not the cause, right? They are not more intelligent than us. How can we this? How can you justify this? How can you like justify this in terms of brain structure or whatever you call it in terms of biology? How? What is the difference then? Why we don't have one developed country in Africa? We are like populous. We have a lot of like big population. We have big area. We have 30% natural resource. We have everything. Why we are poor? Because the only difference that they are ahead of us is the democracy. Once we build that democracy, we are developed. You cannot name a country that is democratic and very poor country. You can never mention this. That is the main problem. So we need to work on the political system. When you have good political system, you have policy. When you have policy, you implement that policy, then you get developed. That is the whole point. Thank you. You can ask me, Dr. Arun.
Okay, just quick question. Okay, I see your point in the question of democracy, even though it is very contestable as well, because China is not having democracy, but it is leading now the Western countries. Even USA has trillions of dollars debt now from China. But I just respect your idea. But the thing that I want to come to you is, do you think that we are economically poor, or is it because we don't have sovereign states and sovereign countries or sovereign independent systems? Because I see your point. You are coming with the idea that Africa is very rich in terms of resources. If Africa is very rich in terms of resources, you cannot come again and then say we are poor, you know, because it contradicts for me. So I'm trying to say, yeah, we can say we don't have independent states and sovereign states or countries that can properly use their resources and develop their countries or their continent or defend their continent. And they don't have even the courage to build to advance their institutions, independent institutions, and they are simply puppets for the foreign powers. I can take that, but if you say we don't have the resource and we are poor economically, I just strongly agree because I disagree because even the word economy is very contested for me. I don't define it the way they define it, developed or higher income. This is completely out of track for me because we are the terms that they are trying to use, the criteria that they are trying to use to say they are developed or are high income countries is completely contrary with my perspective, because who is defining them? Who is putting this criteria to say developed or high income? Is it because of they are taking their minerals, they are taking our resources, and they are enjoying everything because they have the technology and the power, or is it because really we are mentally poor? This is also a problem for me because the governments. Yeah, just to finish, the idea of our governments become puppet, and they are also against the critical scholars, African scholars. That's a vicious circle. The governments are against the scholars, African scholars, and the African scholars are becoming against the governments. That's a vicious circle being used by the superpower countries to maintain us in the periphery. They are the core, and we are the periphery. That's the problem, I think. And go ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me answer you this. So
now, Bahan.
Okay.
This topic goes to Wandera's. What you two people are discussing now goes to Wandera's tonight topic. You see?
Okay, I just need 2 minutes to answer him.
Let me guide the platform. We have done so well so far. This one goes to Wandera tonight. Wandera is discussing democracy in Africa, how far it is, how deep it is. I didn't see the topic, but someone sent me a topic. So I want to invite my sister.
Yeah, he's asking about economy, why we are poor.
So wind up. I want to bring in Tendai, and we are about to close. So I have a few other speakers, 2 left. Then I call in some people to make a rebuttal 2 or so, and we close. Wind up now. Hello.
Okay. So you asked me, we have a lot of natural resource, so we are not poor. No, we are poor. Because, like, for example, let me tell you this, having copper doesn't make you rich because you have to use the copper. You have to change it to cable, or for example, having car doesn't make you reach someplace so fast. You have to drive. If you cannot use the resources, you cannot get rich. You cannot have, because, you know, for example, if every people in the world, like 7.5 billion people, you live like one single Americans, there is called ecological footprint. We need around 6 Earths. We need. If you can live like one Israeli, we need 3 Earths. If the world's population live like Ethiopians, like single Ethiopian, like living standard, you need 1/3 of the energy of the matter of the earth. This means we are not using the natural resource from earth. The natural resource you cannot create. This is we have stored natural resource. We have constant matter. Then they are using somehow from the world. They are using a lot per day. One American is using a lot than one Ethiopian. So having those natural resources doesn't make you rich. You need to use them. If you cannot process them, if you don't have industry to process those natural resources, you will sell them. You will export them to the countries that have, you know, industry or something to process them. Why you cannot process them by yourself? Why you cannot use copper by yourself, gold by yourself? Why you cannot make jewelries from diamond by yourself?
We had Brahane. You are from Aksum, I know you, and we had the processor from such kind of metals.
No,
we have our
had.
currency, you know. You know it from Aksum.
Not you don't have now. You had. That is the problem. We were great, but now we are poor. We cannot use history now. Why? We need to come to we need to have educational system. Education is the main problem. The education, we don't have education, good education system, so that we don't have the industry or something. Why we don't have education system? We are not funding on education. Do you know any companies that fund to research in Africa? We don't have that much. Why? Because, you know, the corrupt officials, we don't have policy, we don't have democracy. That is the main problem. Thank you.
All right. Bahani and my friend there, you could go on until the sun comes down. But the main question is very simple. Is it time for Africa to have sovereign fund? Why do we borrow money when we have a lot of resources? Let me bring in my sister Tendai, just to soften our hearts and wind up the discussion for us. We have been here for 3 hours. Next time, come early and take it away from us. Thank you, Sister Tendai. Tendai, you have fallen again. Sister Tendai. Your system has collapsed or something. Okay. I think anybody else who would like to speak now?
Yes, doctor, I'm here still.
Who?
Howard.
Howard, yes. Okay, Howard. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, you know, as most of you said, it is where to begin is the problem in Africa. Where to begin, and not to begin as well. We have so much obstacle of our own natural crisis. The natural crisis is, I believe, you know, we have to learn that to live together. We have to adapt the idea. We rise together, we die together, sort of thing. Otherwise, if you haven't implemented or spread that kind of knowledge in our continent, we won't be moving forward at all. That's what we're missing. It is I think the selfish gene we have is extremely bigger than the continent, bigger than anything. I think the
Okay,
gene, the natural.
Awad, hold the fire. You will come in. Let Madame Tendai, my daughter, speak, because it looks like she has a bad network and she wants to run somewhere. Madame Tendai.
Good morning, Doc. It's always a pleasure to be able to participate on this important platform. And I want to acknowledge all my brothers and sisters that host a variety of spaces just to advance the cause for Pan-Africanism. I see Kennedy, my brother, my partner in crime. I see my sister Shumi, and many others that are here.
That Kennedy is not a brother in crime now. He is in good books in Nairobi now.
I really want to extend my thanks to you, Doc, because you've got a lot more, probably pressing issues that you have on your hands to be able to address and to focus on. But the fact that you always host the spaces and to impart your knowledge and wisdom, and with so much bravery, it's quite admirable. And I wish we had a space where we would actually be able to save this information for future use, because the information that we get from you and the passion that you have cannot be contained on any space. So it'd be good if we can capture it somewhere as much as we can. And I think this topic is a pertinent topic. It's for me, my take and where I stand always, as you know, is that I am an advocate and defender for Africa, of all its weaknesses and its lapses in terms of governance and its challenges that are systemic, some of which are determined, but others that are externally caused. I think as Africans, it is our responsibility to ensure that we trumpet the importance and the relevance of Africa within the region, but also internationally. And I think, the issue around whether it is time and for us to establish a sovereign fund, I think absolutely. There's never a better time than now. Because there is an increasing focus on Africa, no more as a recipient for aid or a beneficiary for international or global North aid, but as a partner. I think we've seen this, although sometimes people might want to interpret it as being tokenistic, where we've seen EU, Africa, Russia, Africa, US, Africa discussions that are happening in the global North, and even in terms of the foreign policies for a lot of emerging economies in the global North, and they specifically mention Africa as a potential partner. So I think it's then important for us as Africans to be able to strengthen our systems and make our systems resilient and establish strong institutions that make us to be sovereign. Because I think in the topic there, Doc, you're talking and you're crying for Africa's sovereignty, which we lost for a variety of reasons. Our colonial credentials, which sometimes we feel like we're fatigued to talk about them, and sometimes people think that maybe we're using them as scapegoat, but that's our reality. Our reality is that we have very solid post-colonial credentials that have in a number of ways diminished our ability to be able to stand by ourselves. This is why the global North has come forward to assist us in some areas. But it is time for Africa now to pick ourselves up and establish strong institutions. Is it happening in Africa? Yes, it is happening in Africa. If the challenge that we have sometimes is that we speak out of school because we don't research, we don't talk to people that are in the forefront of these things. So I think as Africans, it is also upon us to be able to go in and research and find out information. My friend was now the finance minister for South Sudan, who is the former governor. I had a very long meeting with him when I came to Dublin, and I was just trying to understand what's going on. And he told me that, there is actually a push, and it has been happening over the last 5 years, that the central bank governors across Africa are trying to establish a pan-African central governance system in terms of finance and all that. So this is actually happening in Africa, and there are pushes that are happening from within Africa to be able to not only to claim but establish sovereignty around the financial systems. is there going to be challenges? Absolutely. Why? Because when we talk about strengthening our financial acumen as a region or as a continent, we need to be able to understand the fact that this is happening as part of an ecosystem. It's not just us as Africans doing our own thing exclusively. It will be part of an international financial system, and obviously our lobby on the international stage is obviously going to be challenged because we're going on the table as lesser partners, and that's why we all need to be able to continue to promote Africa as an important partner on the global financial system as well. So yes, it is the time for us to be able to do that. The work is already beginning. We need to be able to research and understand what's going on and continue to talk about it and promote it and support it. Those that are working, particularly media houses as well as civil society, it's important then that we continue to push and support and ensure that we amplify whatever it is happening so that we can educate ourselves. I think self-education and self-leadership is one of the important aspects of this process as well. I think the issue of the debt situation that we're in is an elephant in the room, and I think Africa, I think there's a dreadful asymmetrical relationship that is there between the global south and global north, in terms of how, I think this is IMF that actually said that 22 African countries are in debt crisis, and this was in 2020, and what it means is that across the spectrum of 5 to 16% interest on 10-year government bonds is being paid by African governments, whereas the European countries are only paying negative rates and all that. So the playing field and the asymmetry in relationships between the global south and global north in terms of borrowing and the cost of borrowing for Africa has got to be mentioned. And this is the role of civil society to also continue to call on global governance and multilateral financial systems on the global stage to ensure that there's fairness, in terms of the cost of debt, and also to hold our own governments to account. And our governments have got a responsibility to ensure that they establish institutions that are accountable and that ensure that, whatever we're borrowing money for and wherever the money is going to is providing with the public goods that are required on the continent. Because at the end of the day, it's critical, it's important, it has to be a priority for every government that is in power to ensure that they provide with public goods and public institutions that satisfy the needs and the priorities of its people, and that should be the bottom line and baseline for any governance system. So those institutions, on a country to country level are important. On a regional level, it's very important that we recognize that this is the time for us to be able to do that. Within Africa itself, there's a very strong push for Pan-Africanism. We're all here, we're brothers and sisters. Most of us have never met before, but what unites us is our Africanness and the push for there to be accountability and for there to be provision of public goods for our own people and all that. So I think internally, there's a strong push for Pan-Africanism and ensuring that there's strengthening of these relationships and building blocks, but also internationally, the increasing recognition of Africa as an emerging partner for business is then an incentive for us to be able to establish that. So yes, there are a lot of negatives. There's a lot of things that are not going well. It's work in progress. Some of them are determined by us, but others are externally caused. And it's important then that we address those at a variety of levels as well. So I just want to give thanks to you, Doc, for your continued trumpeting around the importance of Africa, on the global stage, and everybody else who's doing that in their own way. But there is an opportunity for us as Africans to improve in the way we're doing things. I fundamentally disagree that we're a weak continent. I fundamentally disagree that we're a useless and hopeless continent, as somebody else has said. I know Ken is going to address that on the show tonight. But I think if we as Africans don't take it as our own personal and collective responsibility to promote ourselves, you cannot then expect Charles, who's coming on board in the UK, to respect us. Yes, we have a lot of systemic weaknesses and all that, but there's no sustainable solution that will ever come externally. Every solution, which could be financial, which could be democratic, which could be accountable governance, any form of infrastructure that we want, political infrastructure, financial infrastructure, will be driven by Africa, owned by Africa, and coordinated by Africa. But the whole continued call on Europeans to come and whip us is something that I don't think is sustainable. So as Africans, let's continue to build that momentum for establishing our own sovereignty around funding, around politics, around civil society, and we'll see that we'll be much better going forward because we're a rich continent. Thank you.
Oh, my sister, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, unless someone is burning, and we call it London is burning, London is burning, fetch the English, fetch the fire, 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 bring in water. Who remembers that song? My teacher used to torture me because of that. London is burning, London is burning, fetch the engines, fire, 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 bring water, bring water. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Africa, Punchline Africa Friday. This is Punchline Africa Television together with Matsanga Twitter Space. Always looking for Africa all the time. And all of you on the platform, don't forget all the time, Tendai, you can become a very good correspondent for Punchline Africa in Dublin. And
I receive.
I've now established Matsanga Africa Perspective every Tuesday and Thursday. We want to compete with Wandera, with Voice, Wandera's Voice of America. It is going to click from next week, live from London, Dar es Salaam, Harare, Lagos, Nairobi, and guess what? The headquarters itself, Mogadishu. We are going to have correspondents, tough guys, profs, docs, everybody, media guys, Tendai, Dublin. I want to add it on the list. The topics will be very different. We shall bring in topics that touch on Africa only. And then we shall have next week on Tuesday, we start with Piero Lumumba. I want to fire him. He has talked too much. Fire, fire, fire. I want to bring him on the scene. I want to hear what he says on a topic that is going to be sent out to you together, not on the street, but live on TV. And then News Central guys will slot 1 hour for all of you to be heard worldwide. This is coordination in Africa. We are moving on that direction of local issues. Those who want to talk about elections in Kenya is finished. It is over. We left it to where it is. For me, I have a rule in my heart, and I want to tell you people to hear me today. Once a Supreme Court of any country decides that that is the direction, I wouldn't raise a finger again, because I've grown in the Queen's land, the late Queen's land, and I'm still growing in the King's land. I abide by the rule of law that once the king or the queen the Supreme Court of that country, any country, be it Somalia, be it Central African Republic, be it Lagos, Nigeria, be it Zimbabwe, once it says, although this is this, that, if there is another step I can take, I would take it. But I would not oppose beyond that. So for this reason, my programs are not again centered on Kenya's elections. Most of you are asking, why am I not talking? No, that is now up to, it is already a Kenyan issue is done, sorted. Kenyans, until themselves come up And the Wandera knows me. You can't tackle Matanga and tackle him beyond that. You know, I'm a very good boy on international level scene. The only thing that I always tell my children is never to bring me a degree of international relations. None of my children has tried to study the subject I studied. Only one last born, the 24-year-old, is studying law in King's College. She has finished it. She's going to graduate in November or September. November, yes. That is all. But I told her, don't touch international relations, because there is no subject called international relations. The subject there is international interests. There is no relations, interest. If you don't have anything to give, you have nothing to get. I don't know whether people know that. That's why when you are choosing your subjects, talk to Dr. Matsanga. Talk to me. At the moment, I've gone to lecturing online. Wandera might be asking, where are you these days? Mr. Wandera, I'm lecturing online somewhere in one of the campuses in London, online. Their students need me. They like me. They like me so much. Very much. They like me. And especially I can talk for 4 hours non-stop. Wandera, can you manage me? 4 hours non-stop. So my students like me. Sometime in October, before my birthday, I'm going to organize in London School of Economics. We have the East African Society. Tendai, I will airlift you from Dublin to that LSE, London School of Economics, sorry, LSE. You will be there. You will hear, I am gonna eat the American foreign policy. They have given me a topic. Has the American foreign policy worked for Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, this is where you don't touch David. I am gonna eat it like a food, like a sasa, like a ugali. So come and see. This is the giant, man. Yes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Kenneth, you don't want to say what? Tonight, let me advertise. Tonight, live on Kennedy. Kenneth Wandera and Tendai. There is a show, a very important show. Africa. I wish you told me the topic. Democracy. I think I've seen it somewhere. Let me check. What is that topic? Anybody who has seen Tendai Wandera's tonight Twitter space, can Wandera write it up here and I announce it? I want as many.
But he is here. I think Doctor, he is here, Kennedy, and then he can have mic and then tell us by
have the
himself.
mic. Open the mic and tell us, please. You don't need to speak without the mic. I've given you authority to speak.
Yeah, maybe he's not in a good place to talk, but he is listening us.
He's in a good place. I have seen his location already. You know, I man his phone. He doesn't know. Wandera, I man your phone. You didn't know. The Ethiopians taught me Zenawi and a friend. I am on the desk working. Yes, I knew it. The Ethiopians, the Zenawi. You know, for me, I was with Zenawi. We are very terrible people in London. Zenawi, Isaias, and Matsanga. Go and check that history. Zenawi, Isaias, Matsanga, Dr. Tedro, in an office, we used to almost exchange blows, especially Zenawi and Isaias. And one is tall, one is short. So I was the tallest in the middle. For you Ethiopians, you have a lot of fun from me. I used to separate to look at the eyes of Isaias. I say, why do you always harass Zenawi? Eh? And I stand protecting Zenawi. You know I'm a bit shuj. Eh?
What do you think, Doctor? I think Zenawi he was a prisoner. He just made our land
Don't worry.
No, come on. Doctor, please. Zenawi was one of the worst leaders of Ethiopia because he made Ethiopia landlocked, and sold our sea to the Eritrean regime.
Now he is dead. He'll come for you if you talk bad about him. He's dead. You are not.
No, his ideology is still going on. They are fighting against the Ethiopian national interest. They work for Eritrean independence still now.
Okay, I will bring that topic later. Don't worry. But I was only trying to tell you that I have friendship with all that group, all of them, including the current president of Tigray. They used to be in exile. You know that very well. We are the people who brought food for Ethiopian relief, resettled the refugees from Mengistu Haile Mariam. So I know each and everything about Ethiopia inside out. And that's why I've kept quiet. You are all my brothers, but I don't know what has happened for me. And there you are, I find myself. But President Uhuru Kenyatta will bring that peace. We shall help him. And for me, I expressed my thanks. I told you that Obasanjo will never bring peace. Even you people from Addis will agree that you need another mediator, not Obasanjo. Obasanjo will only sell you. You are done. Mutauzwa, you are done because he sold me on Kunda. So we need peace in that region. I'm a peacemaker. We brought peace in so many places. So thank you very much, all of you on this platform. This is Punchline Africa TV. And we want more Pan-African stations. We shall have next week live from Lagos, London, Harare, Dar es Salaam, Nairobi headquarters. Matsanga Africa Perspective Show. It will be a do or die, a big thing. Don't miss it. The topic will be very interesting at between 10 up to 12 in the morning. It will be very interesting. Then on Thursday, it will be a night. I have avoided so that I don't collide with Kennedy. There will be a night show, another one, the African Bonanza, the way we see it, but again, on Africa. We are going to be talking Africa, 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 until we succeed. So thank you very much. I know that my sister wanted to talk something. I don't want to leave you, Chandamoyo. And there is a request from Awet. Awet, you know I want to go, but you are... And there is a request from my Ethiopian friend again, another one. I wanted to go, and you people are bringing me back. And there is another request from Signoro and the way forward. Now, let me have quick 1 minute each. Neleta.
Hi, I just wanted to say that for me, one of the things that we need to emphasize on is making sure that women are represented in this. And also, one of the key things that happened for some of us when Ambassador Chihompori, who was speaking truth to power in the position of Africa, and she lost her role, from speaking out, and the rest of us don't understand, because there's a lot we didn't understand about what was going on, not only on the continent, but like what happened when negotiations or independence agreements that were made, and also fully grasping what was going on country by country, and what the role of the African Union does. And with that, like, she came in and she did a lot in a short space of time, and she could have done a lot more. Now there's a massive gap. And for some of us, because I live in Ireland, it feels like some people were not happy and she was silent. And women don't do business the same way men do business. And I think there needs to be an accommodation for women not to be pushed into operating and negotiating for power the same way men do. But also at the same time, we have a worldview that sees things in a different way, and that doesn't have room yet. So, and also I also appreciated the fact that when we are talking about Africa, she was also appreciating the fact that within that we are African countries within a continent, and we need to maintain that, because there's wealth in that diversity and that difference, because from there, that's the only way we can build. Now, if we just take Africa as a homogeneous one group of people, we lose a lot. It's like we are diluting who we are in order to fit into the world, and I think we need to be careful in that. And I just wanted to just call out and say, let's not forget us women. We don't want to be forgotten, and we'll keep pushing, but we shouldn't have to made to force our space. And I'm calling on the women here. Let's build a new table if the men are not build it, and then we invite the men to join, because we'll make space for them. Thank you.
Come on, Senor, then I go after you.
You talking about me?
Yes, Senor, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I say I'm a Black American, and I'm listening to your conversation, and I really love it. No disrespect whatsoever. But one thing I see that's going on as far as the African nations are they're letting the Chinese come in and colonize them in a different way from the Europeans. Whereas they turn around, we build a railroad and stuff like that. I could be wrong because I'm not there to see it. But that's what I'm seeing here as far as the news media and stuff like that. Where it's going on, whereas China made their first international military in Africa compared to Taiwan that's right next to them. That's what that's some of the stuff that I wanted to bring up. But I'm glad that you brought up as far as the economy and stuff like that, because everything's beneath your economy. The only way you can rise is your economy. But if another country is taking over it, how far can you rise? Because if it's true that I heard here in America that China got a 100-year plan for Africa, and the 100-year plan is give them whatever they want and then cut it off. And then the people's going to need you way more than you needed them taking their natural resources. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you for the accolades. Always tuning in, always talk frankly as you have done. There are so many people on the national my television who are watching, who are listening. Comments are many. I will not be able to read them. The next speaker, 1 minute. Await. Wait. Let me take Muti. Await, you will summarize because you were here first. Mr. Muti Oromo Hora, my brother from Ethiopia, from Oromoland.
Yes. Yeah, Dr. David, on my side, I just have a question. I don't have much comment, but is it possible to ask question?
Yeah,
Regard to your
To me, to anybody. In fact, especially me, I like questions.
Yeah, okay. Now you know that
because you know
yeah.
I'm a teacher.
Yeah, okay, very good. I just want to ask a question in relation to the topic you have just brought up for us.
Yes.
You know, where do you see Africa in the next maybe 20 years when it comes to sovereign fund, you know, I mean, to be independent of Africa's financial stability, while we are going through war in different parts of the continent. So do you think is it foreseeable for Africa to be, you know, independent of this borrowing money from the foreigners, I mean, from the developed countries?
Okay, that's a very good question. And how do you see Africa in the next 20 years? You know why? Do you know, Mr. Oromo, what you are doing right now? Is you are preparing that Africa for the 20 years to come. Our discussion on this program is to prevent Africa from disintegrating. We want Africa to be united. We want to follow the dreams of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Sekou Toure, Emperor Haile Selassie, Amir Cabral.
Can I say something?
No, wait. You will not say when I have not finished.
No, when you finish, can I say something?
Yes, I will give you the chance, sir.
Okay.
And mute your if you can mute your microphone. We are preparing the Africa the way it will be in 20 years to come. If we don't stand up now, if we don't stand up and talk about those wars, you see the wars you are talking about that are confusing Africa, breaking down Africa. If we don't speak about them, if we don't solve these problems, if we don't think of why we have a lot of resources, including the minerals that make telephones that we are using to speak on, and yet we are poor, and we go to borrow from the people who buy the same minerals. If we don't think why Nigeria drills crude oil and ships it out to be refined somewhere in Saudi Arabia, then bring it to sell to their own nationals. If we don't start thinking like that now, the 20 years you are talking about, Martin Omoro, will be very bad years for our generations to come. That's why I'm saying, is it time for Africa to have a sovereign fund? Why do we borrow when we have resources that we can start putting up together and have a fund? Instead of going to borrow from IMF, we can exchange, we can do inter-African trade free market where all goods can be sold. Somebody from Kenya can sell tomatoes in Uganda, Uganda can sell tomatoes in Tanzania, Tanzania can sell tomatoes in Mogadishu, Mogadishu can sell milk, camel milk, which is very expensive, can be sold to the world instead of taking it to the Arab countries. Can we start now? If we don't start now, then we are doomed as African generation. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Go ahead now.
Just
and let it be short.
one minute, dear David.
Go ahead.
Who is
Go ahead.
Please, just this is it's
stacking
very
tomatoes. You said stacking tomatoes. I'm gonna use your last example of stacking tomatoes to make money. But is that a sufficient economy?
No, I am not saying it
That's
is
not.
on the tomatoes. At the moment,
you know that.
No, wait
You know
first, boss. I just said, for example, to sell tomatoes. I'm not saying you should sell tomatoes.
Brother, I mean,
But I am saying tomatoes, there are countries in Africa where tomatoes cannot be sold to the neighbor. Yes.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying inter-African trade can clear this way.
Okay.
If we have
a tomato can't be sold to the neighbor, right?
Yeah,
but they can be given. Hold on. Hear me out. They can be given away to the neighbor, right? But not sold, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the neighbor that received the tomatoes can give a donation to the person who gave the tomatoes, right?
Yes.
And that's not a sale. That's not a sale. I gave you 5 tomatoes yesterday, and today you donated $5 to me. I'm in America because it might be
okay. Boss, you are taking us to mathematics, which is very complicated for me.
It's not.
No, but now you are making argument as if we don't know. We have said.
But you use the tomato aspect to your own people.
Yes, but tomatoes are grown in Africa, aren't they?
But you said that you sell tomatoes and stuff like that to make money, but it's still legally.
Boss, do you know English very well? Did you study English? I said, for example.
For example, yes, you did.
Yes, please, and don't teach me English because I'll teach you more English. I said, for example.
So we don't have to be disrespectful.
Boss, I respect you. For example, you can sell tomatoes. I didn't say we only sell tomatoes. You can sell eggs. You can sell sugar.
You know what? You know what you can sell? You can sell natural resources like you've been talking about. That sounded real good to me.
Okay, we can sell the.
You can sell the natural resources, but then you turn around and you don't even hit on where us Africans to turn around and raise the prices for these natural resources that I'm talking to you on a cell phone in America, in Chicago, Illinois, to turn around, and this is because of Africa is possible.
Okay. Now I understand. I have got your question. I've understood. Okay. I've understood. Now, thank you very much on that one. We still have a long way to go, because we have no united market. We have not got any. We still have barriers.
Okay. You know what? I understand exactly what you're saying. You're saying you don't have a united market. You don't have the infrastructure.
There are custom. For example, there are custom barriers. Africa, one African country cannot send goods to the other without the customs. There are passport barriers.
Don't get me wrong. That should be right. There should be a customs for each country. The thing about it is, there should be an international custom between Africa. Oh, I'm sorry, not an international, but a national custom.
We have 3 minutes.
Africa.
We have 3 minutes to go.
Don't get me wrong, I misspoke. A national custom among Africans.
Okay, thank you.
In the countries that don't turn around and take into that, okay. Leave them out.
Very much. Thank you very much, brother. Next time you come early so that I give you more time. It looks you have very good ideas, and we could use them very effectively.
Check this out.
I will give you more time.
I'm not trying to just give me a little bit more time.
No, we
I'm
have
not
because no, our
a
time.
little bit. I'm just saying. I'm not
The
saying
tele,
a whole
I've given you more
monologue.
time. I give you one minute and finish, please.
Okay, I'm not trying to do a monologue. I'm just turning around and trying to say, hey, if you utilize the African Americans, the Black Americans, or whatever you want to call us here in America, we would come there with our ideals. People like me that can't get my ideals done here, but certain people can.
Yes.
And it will turn around and be a miraculous thing that happens among us. But it's like we fighting among each other. Don't get me wrong, we identify each other in different ways, yes. We do. We
Yes.
identify ourselves in different customs and cultures and stuff like that. But here in America, we turn around and, Black Americans, I'm talking about ways the Black Americans that will go over there to do things are not the ones who are like
Thank you. Thank you very much. We got the point, and we love the unity. We love you so much. You have stood for the black race. You have stood for us. You have opened the ways. You have opened the gates. You have undergone harsh treatment, but here you are. You stand and talk about Africa. You still think about us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. God bless you.
The thing is me now, right? I can just highlight my thing under 1 minute, if you allow me,
Yes.
Mr.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Way.
Yes, Mr. David
Mr.
Masanga.
Mr. Way out. Mr.
Yeah.
Way out. Yes.
Okay.
Mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Masanga, I need
Mr.
to make it into two answers. Okay. First thing, okay, we need a Dr. David Masanga Nation, some sort of institution. It must be formed as soon as possible, and we must conduct our own convention as soon as possible, and where we can have a live, face-to-face, open and transparent, a discussion. This is something must be thought as soon as possible. This is now, and now we have to start. If you don't start this now, it will never happen. This platform is just an amazing platform that brings the whole Black continent together. I can see that's an amazing, lovely. That could be the starting milestone to the beautiful Africa. Okay, so please think about this, and I have been absolutely pleased staying all day, even missing many things to just listen to these wonderful ideas. Okay, and second, which was a question that was raised by Murti. We are in a very critical situation as an Africans at the moment, and the problem is, one of the greatest problem is there is the Ethiopian issue. The Ethiopian issue has been very critical. One, as the African Union contemplating of moving to another African country, the African Union planning to move. Second, the critical situation in Ethiopia. Ethiopians, as Ethiopians, if you don't stop this division, if you don't stop this war going on in Ethiopia, unite and stand as one, I tell you what would happen in next 20 years. In next 20 years, there would be another 55 countries in Africa. Then it would be over 110 countries in Africa, which is the primary long plan white man's agenda to divide and rule, to weaken Africa. It must be divided. Okay, weaken Africa. You have to put them into that tiny tribalism. Okay, and just for the rest of the to kill and divide each other forever and ever. So the most important is, before expecting what Africa would look like for 50 years or 20 years, okay, you need to look what Ethiopia has to look like within the next 1 or 2 years. Is Ethiopia is going to stay as one together, or been gone forever? If Ethiopia is gone, that would give a green light to the entire tribal African states would be divided. So please look into the Ethiopian issue before you even thinking about Africa. And thank you for the time, and thank you, Mr. David. Can't wait to see that organization of Dr. David Masanga Nation. I hope that would be the starting tipping point, basically. All right, thank you for that.
Dr. David, can I ask you a question?
Is that
This is one last question.
Awati? Can I comment on what Awati said, dear David?
Yes. What is the problem now?
Yeah, people are opening mic, so I don't know who spoke. I think
Okay, don't worry.
the guy who just spoke is Awat.
Now, the last man who spoke is Awet, and don't think I'm not watching you. Awet, I left you speaking. You made your points, 2 points. I already have a platform. Go to my platform, www.panafricanforumltd.com. It is Pan-African Forum UK Limited. It is well with so many articles, with over 8.5 million readers who have come to that platform. Students have passed exams because of that platform. Go to that website. You'll find for yourself. You'll see for yourself what type of work I've done for this world. That is one. So if there is any other move for uniting Africa and bringing them together, that convention, I'm going to call it soon. And I'm going to call it, and you will be one of the people to come to this. Yes.
Yeah, dear David, give me 1 minute. I want to comment on what Awati said about Ethiopia, please.
No, that it will bring another big topic on Ethiopia, please. Let's leave it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I hope you will hold another space on Ethiopian conflicts.
I know what is going on in Ethiopia.
Where are you from?
Yes, you see?
Dr. David, where are you from?
Eh? What are you saying, Muti?
Dr. David,
it's not me, Mr. David.
No, Muti Oromo, what are you saying?
No, I'm talking to Dr. David, not
the way out was talking.
To Dr. David. I was like, where are you from?
Me.
The host.
From Uganda.
You are forgotten.
That's what I want to get at. I'm sorry for interrupting the other guy. But
Boss Muti, I'm from Africa.
Dr. Masanga, it's not me, it's Way Out who is speaking now.
Okay, now.
Me, I wanted to comment on what Awati said. And then you said.
Okay, all of you, let's do this. Now you all listen to me. I have been your host for 4 hours. And I have worked my way out. I want you to thank me. Clap for me only. Just clap for me as you go so that I can go and look for my... I don't eat lunch. I only eat on the 1 until 6 o'clock when I will eat another meal. I eat only twice in a day. So let me go and work out something and call one of my grandchildren to find out how they are. Thank you very much, all of you from Dublin. My sisters from Dublin, you have done a great job. All of you from United States, my brother from USA, in a place at night. I know it is late at night. You have woken up because you saw something about Africa. Thank you very much. You have woken up to speak. Evelyn, you came in late, but you are in our prayers. And all of you, all my people from all sides, in Zimbabwe, Harare, in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, in Uganda, Kenya, Nairobi, in London, in Kigali, in Kampala. Thank you very much for watching Punchline. At the same time, you are on Punchline television. Your views are recorded. They will be played in YouTube. So you are doing very well. The discussions you take here, don't take them lightly. They are very important and they go a long way to shape Africa. And that is the spirit of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who said, Africa, we should mind about Africa, not tribes. So Africa, we don't have tribes, we have one continent. And thank you very much, all of you. In the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of Allah, in the name of everybody you pray, you too as your God, and there's only one God. Both of all of these are prophets who came sent by God. I thank you very much. God bless you. This station, this platform is the struggle for Africa, for a better Africa. And this television station is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.